morning. Police say a man was shot in the torso near 268 West Paramount Avenue. They believe this was isolated and there is no active threat to the public. The Granite School District Board has voted against closing Eastwood and Morningside elementary schools after hearing passionate comments from parents for more than an hour last night.
Instead of investing $500,000 in an outside study, invest $500,000 in our schools.
I urge you to choose the option that keeps our children, our families, and our neighborhood together.
The board was considering a recommendation from a study to close both schools due to declining enrollment. But after hearing all the comments, the board voted to suspend the study indefinitely and keep both schools open for the time being. Our top national story this hour from ABC News: the 10 Commandments will not be posted in public schools in Texas after multiple families won a lawsuit against the state.
The plaintiffs argued that the mandatory display of biblical scripture in public classrooms violated their children's rights.
No school district should be posting them.
Attorney Chloe Kempf is with the ACLU, which represented those families.
It really interferes with their religious practices and how their family is wanting to bring them up at home.
The Fifth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in January will hear challenges to the Texas law at a nearly identical one in Louisiana. Jim Ryan, ABC News, Dallas.
Your money at this moment. Right now, the Dow is down 75 points. We're at 46,018. Coming up, we'll get a look at the weather forecast. More warm temperatures continue this week. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:02. Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
You gave years, maybe decades to your job. You showed up, worked hard, and planned for retirement. But now, the company's changed. Or maybe you've taken a buyout or been forced into early retirement. So, what happens next? I'm Jeff Jr., founder of Trajan Wealth. And if you've built up a 401k or thrift savings plan, now is the time to ask, is that money really working for you? Many workplace retirement plans offer limited options and even less guidance. At Trajan Wealth, we help people just like you roll over their accounts into IRAs with more flexibility and personalized investment strategies built around your goals. For households with $500,000 or more, let us build you a personalized plan. We operate on veteran values, service, trust, and doing what's right. Your next chapter starts now. Call Trajan today. 801-207-9900. That's 801-207-9900.
Advisory services offered through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. See website for details.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance supervisor at a manufacturing facility, he knows keeping the line up and running is a top priority. That's why he chooses Grainger. Because when a drive belt gets damaged, Grainger makes it easy to find the exact specs for the replacement product he needs. And next-day delivery helps ensure he'll have everything in place and running like clockwork. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Tired of hearing scary radio ads about the IRS? Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000 or $500,000, we have a solution. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS with zero risk to you. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with a BBB. End your tax nightmare today by visiting TRA.com or call 800-583-6681. That's 800-583-6681.
Did you work in uranium before 1990? Then you need to know that RECA is back. You may now qualify for compensation of $100,000. We provide the best in-home care for former energy workers. CNS Cares can guide you to the resources you need to file a claim. Call CNS Cares to find out if you are eligible. Let's make sure you get all the care and support you deserve. Call 855-CNS-RECA today.
$1.5 trillion is parked on the sidelines. Projects that would help create good-paying American jobs are stuck in years of burdensome reviews. Permitting reform would unlock over 650 major U.S. infrastructure projects, from new roads and bridges to bringing more energy online. With faster, more efficient permitting, we can unleash America's economic potential. Let's move from waiting to building. Ready, set, let's build. Paid for by Business Roundtable.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's Visa Triple Rewards. And here is Aubrey Withridge.
Well, right now things are looking pretty good. We do still have one crash. This is on northbound I-15 in Draper, just after the Bangor Highway exit. It looks like you will see a touch of slowing through that area. And then again, as you're approaching I-80, if you're heading northbound into downtown Salt Lake. On the flip side, southbound, heading from North Salt Lake into downtown, you might see a few brake lights through that area as well. And it does look like we have a new crash. This is on eastbound 215, right near State Street. It looks like it's not blocking any lanes right now. Moved over to the left shoulder, but just watch out for that if you're driving through there. Brothers Mattress, don't miss their huge Black Friday sale that's going on now on all Tempur-Pedic mattresses. Save up to $500 on Tempur-Pedic mattresses. Visit twobrothersmattress.com. I'm Aubrey Withridge in the KSL Traffic Center.
Today will be partly sunny with a slight chance of rain. Highs will sit in the mid-50s. The rain is more likely tomorrow with temperatures about the same. Right now it's 46 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Good morning. Welcome to another edition of Inside Sources. I am Greg Skordas alongside Holly Richardson. And Holly, I think we're going up to Capitol Hill this morning. The Utah legislature...
Virtually.
Virtually, yes. And which is nice because I'm not into walking up Capitol Hill quite yet. But the Utah lawmakers are holding their final interim meetings before the 2026 legislative session. They've got a few things on the agenda, and as I was going over those with you earlier this morning, some of those are kind of interesting in terms of just the timing of what's going on right now.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk about a few things, but I first want to just remind our listeners what interim day is. So the legislature only meets for 45 calendar days. It starts the third week in January and goes to the first week in March. And after that, then they meet once a month, but 6 times during the rest of the year to talk about issues. Sometimes it's research. Sometimes it's having people come and report, right? Their mandated reports. We know that higher ed has had to show up. So today, there are some reports that are happening, but there's a lot of legislation that is going to be proposed. Now, what that means is these are pieces of legislation that they have been working on during the interim that has a fair amount of support, at least at the outset, because what happens is as you present an interim committee, they can't vote on the bill. What they can do is say, look, we voted to send this to the regular the regular legislative session. And if it's called a committee bill where it was voted on unanimously, then that gets fast-tracked at the beginning of the legislative session.
Okay, so let's break down some of these because you had broken them into categories earlier, and I just want to talk about a few that I think that our listeners would be interested in terms of coming up for the general session in January?
Yeah. So one of them is on signature gathering. So signature gathering and verification. And this particular bill is in the Government Operations Committee. They're meeting this morning. What it does is it clarifies how individuals can be paid for collecting signatures. It requires that the individual who collects signatures has to have some kind of a training course before they go. I'm going to guess that this is probably electronic, but it also requires the county clerk to certify certain statistical information with the lieutenant governor. It requires the person who verifies signatures to send an email and a text message to the signer of the petition, notifying the signer that their signature was either accepted or rejected. I think this has the potential to really increase the workload on some of our election officials, but that's one of the bills that will be heard this morning.
And it may be sort of a compromise between those that in the Republican Party who feel like the signature gathering process has not worked out, and those who feel like it has, that maybe will, instead of throwing out the baby with the bathwater, so to speak, saying, okay, let's keep signature gathering because let's face it, the public likes it, and it's worked very well. But let's tighten the security around it. Let's make it more so that people don't feel like there's a chance that some of it's skewed or not as appropriate as it could be, because we have seen some problems with the signature gathering with respect to jurisdiction, with respect to verification. And maybe it became a little too easy to get on the ballot through signature gathering. So maybe tighten.
Well, I will push back on that and say it is not easy. The level of signatures, the number of signatures you have to get is a very high bar. So there has been some discussion before, and I don't see it on the agenda today, but do you change the number of signatures required to get on the ballot? Because it is very, very expensive.
Yeah, and we saw some candidates who couldn't even make it. They couldn't get through the signature
That's
process.
right.
It was
That's
harder
right.
than
Because
they thought.
it's a high bar, so you have to collect many more than you need because there's a lot of people who sign who aren't actually registered in Utah, or they're not registered in the district that they're signing for, or they're not a registered Republican, whatever it is. So there's another bill too, and this one is interesting, partially because I think a lot of people didn't really know what this means. So kratom, kratom, I've heard it pronounced both ways as I'm looking at news stories. So this is a naturally occurring supplement that is supposed to be a pain reliever and is available even at gas stations. And as it turns out, it can be highly, highly addictive. It can be an opioid substitute, but it can also be really addictive. And so Senator Mike McKell has really been pushing or researching in this bill. In fact, I saw him yesterday on social media, said he went to a variety of gas stations down towards Spanish Fork where he lives. And at one of them, he wasn't even asked for ID. This is something you have to be 21 or older to buy at the gas station. And so what happens or what has happened is that people have realized that this has become really, really addictive substance. And so there's a bill being proposed in front of the Health and Human Services Committee that would actually make it illegal. They would make it a controlled substance, can't be sold over the counter. And he used to support, Senator Mike McKell specifically used to support legalizing it, which it was done. And now it's they're looking to repeal that.
So I've never even heard of it. Kratom, Kratom.
KR.
Okay, yes, I'm looking right at it and reading it wrong. An herbal substance that has a stimulant and opioid-like effect. Stimulant effects include alertness, rapid heart rate, increased energy. It must be. I'll be honest. I've never even heard of it, let alone seen it in gas stations.
Because we don't pay attention to those,
it's not
right?
The kind of thing you look for.
Right. So the people who are in support of it say it's super helpful. For example, people who have been addicted to opioids say that this helps them be able to tolerate pain, or post-surgical where they don't want to take another opioid because they had been addicted. Anyway, I think that you will see this bill to ban it or to at least change it into a controlled substance. I think that you will see a lot of support for that bill.
But right now it's controlled to the extent that there's an age requirement, like tobacco and alcohol.
Right, but it can just be sold over the counter.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. There's another one, too, that I thought, of course, caught my eye, and this one is on adoption. So there is draft legislation, and this one is being proposed by Representative Katie Hall. And what this does is actually tighten up regulations on adoption agencies. Utah has a reputation for being very adoptive, family friendly, right? And I'm an adoptive mom.
I was going to say, you know a lot about that.
I know a lot about that. And some people say that it is too adoptive family friendly, and it exploits the biological parents, the birth parents.
And so this law would tend to tighten that up a little bit?
It would tighten that up, and it would impact adoption agencies that are, especially that are bringing birth mothers into the state of Utah. So again, Utah has very, very friendly laws towards adoptive parents, but
just from your experience, too friendly?
I think there is an argument that could be made for that. I think sometimes also there are news stories that are maybe a little inflammatory because the adoption didn't go well for some reason, right? But yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to say birth parents, especially birth mothers who sign consent, they have to feel like they're not trapped, right? That they're not going to be stuck on a bus, 24 hours after they give birth, or 48 hours, whatever it is. There are some things I think where we can do a better job of addressing birth parent rights.
Well, I wish we could get into more, but there were some voting rights, kratom, and adoption, interesting subjects that
just
the
three,
legislature is
and they're
dealing
talking
with.
about a ton, and
those
it'll be all
those are
day.
big all by themselves.
Yep. So Look, new polling is in, speaking of politics, on how popular Governor Cox is among Utahns. And what stood out to me isn't the drop he saw among Democrats, it's how well he's doing among Republicans. We'll talk about that when we come back after the break.
This holiday season, give the gift of love that lasts a lifetime with Duke's Jewelers. For over 75 years, the Dukes family has been part of Utah Valley's story, helping yours celebrate life's most cherished moments since 1948. Dukes is more than a jewelry store. They're craftsmen, creating timeless pieces and custom designs that capture the magic of the holidays. Whether it's a sparkling necklace, a custom ring, or restoring a family heirloom, Duke's Jewelers pours their heart into every gift. Because jewelry isn't just about sparkle, it's about love and legacy. This Christmas, make your loved one feel like part of the Dukes family. Find the perfect gift at Duke's Jewelers, located at 220 South Main in Springville, or shop online at dukesjewelers.com. Duke's Jewelers, celebrating love and tradition since 1948.
Just how good is Pure Talk's current deal for unlimited wireless? Well, you might say it's the deal of your lifetime. Because right now, for just $29.95 a month, Pure Talk is offering unlimited talk, text, and data for life. Not your phone's life, your life. This is Pure Talk's top-tier plan. It comes with a crazy fast 5G network along with a 30-gig hotspot. And at just $29.95 a month, there has never been a better opportunity to lock in a ridiculously low rate for as long as you live. And save thousands and thousands of dollars along the way. This plan is normally $65 a month, but if you switch today, you will save over 50% every single month for the rest of your life. See what I mean? It really is the deal of your lifetime. Dial pound 250, say Mike Rowe. Offer ends 12/7. Some restrictions apply. Details at puretalk.com.
Hey, this is Dan, the laptop man from PC Laptops. Imagine struggling with a slow, outdated computer that takes forever to load anything, that randomly freezes up and is filled with viruses and malware. Now picture yourself with a powerful desktop or laptop that runs smoothly and efficiently, making your work and entertainment seamless. Take one home today. The new 2025 S1 desktop or SM3 laptop for only $999. You heard that right, $999. You get a blazing fast processor, 16 gigs of RAM, and over a terabyte of blazing storage for $999. What else do you get? Lifetime service warranty, and we have 12 months special financing on approved credit. Hurry in right now because supplies are limited, because at PC Laptops, we love you. Just check us out at PCLaptops.com. $999, PCLaptops.com.
There's no place like home, but home ownership is slipping away in Utah, and young Utahns are being priced out of their own communities. The U.S. economy is built on the idea that 30% of your income should go towards housing. But in Utah, families are spending nearly 66% just to keep a roof overhead. On top of that, the average homeowner in Utah has nearly $400,000 in net worth. For renters, it's barely $10,000. And with Utah already on track to be short more than 153,000 homes by 2030, that gap is only growing. Every community in Utah plays a part in finding solutions. More homes mean more opportunity for teachers, nurses, police officers, and every family that makes Utah what it is. Learn more about Utah's housing shortage and what we can do to begin to fix it at demandmoresupply.com. That's demandmoresupply.com. Make your voice heard right now. Log on to demandmoresupply.com. demandmoresupply.com. Together, we can keep families close.
If you're ready to buy a home or sell a home and you're worried about the current real estate market because of what you've heard from some of your friends or family, well, we're here to tell you that you really shouldn't be worried, because now is a great time to buy and sell with our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Almada Real Estate.
And here's why. Buyers have more options due to increased inventory, which gives them the power to negotiate for repairs, interest rate buy-downs, and closing cost assistance. While at the same time, sellers are still getting top dollar for their homes, with home values that are higher today than ever before. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, the current real estate market presents a win-win opportunity for both buyers and sellers.
But you still do want to make sure that you're working with a team of real estate experts you can trust that can get you some great results. And that's our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Almada Real Estate.
They have helped thousands of Salt Lake City homeowners, and they're ready to help you. To get started, just go to thesternteam.com. That's thesternteam.com, or Google The Stern Team.
Culligan Water. Healthy, pure, clean drinking water. Cleaner laundry, and even softer skin and hair. Call Culligan today, 801-509-9602. Culligan Water. Water you love.
The new Inside Sources.
Are we still the new Inside Sources?
You know, I was asking you yesterday. We're pushing 6 months now.
There
When
we
do
go.
we
Yeah,
when do we
we've
get to
become
not be new?
I like it that we're the new Inside Sources. I also like it that Utah has some fairly popular politicians, and you could probably name the 5 or 6 that are going to do well if anytime there's polling. Governor Cox would be near the top of that list. He continues to do well among Utahns. He has what they call a 15% approval
50
positive.
Right.
A 15% port margin. So he's 50% of the people like him, 35% dislike. So there's a 15%
Right, that's right. Gap
there, which apparently is a good thing. I assume that about 33% of people don't like anything. So they
don't know, right? And that's what
Right.
they say is they just don't know. So one of the things that's interesting this is an article in the Deseret News, and they just did a new poll with the Hinckley Institute of Politics. And what surprised me is really how strong Governor Cox is doing with Republicans, because sometimes the messaging I see online is like, we hate Governor Cox, right? And this is coming from Republicans. But I'm telling you, Republicans, their approval is ticking up. It's at 71% for the governor. And that's a really good number.
Republicans and Democrats have the same problem in Utah, and that is there's the rank and file who, if you look at the Republicans, they probably really like him. And then there are the vocal Republicans and Democrats who would be critical of their leaders.
Right.
Because they're not far enough. So
right.
And it happens every time we have these primaries or these conventions where you're thinking, man, who's going to come out of this? But then when you get to the general election or even the primary and what I call the rank and file, the more moderate Republicans or the more moderate Democrats come out and vote, and those groups would tend to support someone like Governor Cox.
So I'll just remind you of some polling we talked about yesterday on the Epstein files, and I was I was gobsmacked that more than 50% nationally and in Utah weren't following it at all. I'm like, wait, what? This is like major news, and it has been for months.
Right. What did surprise me about Governor Cox, and you indicated you were more surprised at his popularity among Republicans has continued to do well. I was surprised that his popularity among Democrats, and I think there's some explanation for this, has waned a bit, has not done as well. He'd fallen in terms of Democrat approval rating from 37% to 23%.
Yeah, that doesn't really surprise me, actually.
Yeah, and to help us break that down, we do have Brigham Tomko from the Deseret News. Brigham, we're talking about your article. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
So what stood out to you in this polling?
What stood out to me is that we have seen a trend continue over more than a year where Governor Cox, who had entered office back in 2021 as something of a peacemaker and a bridge builder and had continued to develop that reputation, I think, throughout his first and now his second term, he has been hemorrhaging Democratic support consistently. And this began during the 2024 election cycle, I think primarily after his primary experience where he lost a very significant portion of the Republican vote in the state, and I think he started to make more explicit overtures to those to his right, and that alienated, inevitably, those to his left.
Right, he reached out to Donald Trump after the primary, and the Democrats were like, hey, wait a minute, you were sort of standing up and being the voice of reason.
Right.
But I think when you said, Holly, you understood why Democrats are upset. I think it's because he did reach across and try to gain the support of Donald Trump as the general election got closer.
I think it's interesting to me, and Brigham, I think we had you on this show before the last time you did polling, and you talked about the Democratic support was dropping, and now it's dropped even more. How does this compare to like national polling for, say, the president, who is a Republican?
So polling in the last week has found President Trump falling to the lowest approval rating of his second term so far, still not hitting the rock bottom that he hit after the 2020 election, which is when he experienced his lowest approval rating in the low 30s. I think currently he's in the upper 30s or low 40s. And so I can't help but think that Governor Cox's approval rating among Democrats must be tied to some of the national political environment as well. We're not in the legislative session. Aside from redistricting, which we can talk about, there haven't been as big of, controversies in the Cox administration, but clearly at the federal level, Democrats have a lot to be upset with. And since Governor Cox has increasingly cozied up to the Trump administration over the past year and a half, I could see there being some transitive property there with the Democratic view towards Utah's Republican leadership.
Another thing happened, Brigham, that I thought would have swayed Democrats more toward Governor Cox, and that was the response that he had to the Charlie Kirk shooting. And his national response, which was really a response of, we need to come together, we need to quit the madness here, we need to love our neighbors. And I don't know, at the time I thought that's got to be appealing to independents and Democrats, but those numbers didn't seem to shift even after that. Of course, Cox backed up on that just a little bit as well after he got more national media and more, I think, criticism from the administration for being too nice, maybe. But to me, and I know I'm talking in circles a little bit here, I would have expected those numbers, those responses to have given him a boost with Democrats and independents, but it didn't seem to occur.
In conversations with Democrats, independents, and Republicans, I heard almost universal praise for the way that the governor responded to that tragedy here in the state of Utah. And I think that broke through our polarized news cycle for a time.
Right.
But I think one discouraging reality of our social media driven politics nowadays is that individuals are kind of flattened to their partisan identities. So even someone like Governor Cox, who I think genuinely is still pursuing that project of bridge building with Democrats, but also with Republicans who maybe previously disagreed with him, I think that lots of that is lost in the national political conversation.
It's interesting to me, and I think what I have seen as we follow the polling, it looks like he's on an upswing with Republicans. He's not in an election year. It'll probably drop during the legislative session. That seems to do that every year, right? Because I guess there's more attention being paid to what's happening on Capitol Hill because stuff is happening on Capitol Hill. What do you take away from this polling and maybe how it impacts the next 3 years, the last 3 years of his term?
So I think that we have seen a Governor Cox that is a little bit less cautious and a little bit less worried about public perception in some ways as he enters his second term. He has promised time and time again that he's not going to run for a third term as governor. So I wonder if we'll see him paying less attention to the polls over the next 3 years. I don't know if that's the case, but that's kind of the sense I've gotten speaking with him, is that he has these priorities, whether it is energy superabundance as chair of the Western Governors Association or building affordable homes in Utah. He seems pretty laser focused on achieving those goals before his time runs out in office.
It seems also that he's taken a position with respect to the redistricting that Democrats may not have liked when he said to the effect that the courts need to stay out of this.
Appeal. He certainly supported an appeal process.
So maybe, I've completely talked myself into a circle. But in terms of me thinking he would gain all these kudos with Democrats, but there are a couple things you've articulated, and maybe the redistricting, Brigham, is one more, where he hasn't really curried favor with Democrats and independents.
So this poll was in the field from November 8th to November 12th. And on the night of November 10th, most people woke up on the morning of November 11th. We realized that Utah politics most likely has been turned on its head in terms of our congressional map. And Governor Cox came out forcefully against that court ruling that has created most likely a Democrat-leaning seat in Salt Lake County, and he supported the legislature, the Republican supermajority in the legislature's efforts to appeal that case and tried to overturn it.
Thanks, Brigham. Thanks for joining us
Thanks
today.
for joining us. That was Brigham Tomko with the Deseret News. And when we come back, as we were finishing the show yesterday, the U.S. House of Representatives was getting ready to vote on releasing the Epstein files. Well, it passed overwhelmingly. I think it was one vote no and 400 and change in favor. And then it passed the Senate through, you call it a unanimous acclamation or
It was unanimous consent.
Consent. Well, now it's awaiting President Trump's signature. He's indicated that he's going to sign it. We don't know whether he has or will, but we'll talk about that when we come back.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. Our top story this hour today is the last of the interim sessions on Capitol Hill before the start of the actual legislative session next year. Several committees will meet to discuss popular issues like signature gathering, health insurance, school attendance, and nuclear energy. An audit of Utah's medical cannabis program shows there needs to be some improvements. KSL News Radio's McKenna Rodriguez.
The medical cannabis program focuses their efforts on providing safe and regulated access to medical marijuana for those who qualify to use it. Utah's Legislative Audit Subcommittee found that their process could be improved. They recommended focusing the inspection process on areas of high risk, including recording accurate cannabis inventory, making waste unusable, and securely storing it in sanitary conditions. And auditors recommended a clear documentation of patient noncompliance.
We agree with the findings, and we if you've read our responses, we have a great plan to fulfill those recommendations.
That was Kelly Pearson with the Utah Department of Agriculture and Food, which oversees the medical cannabis program. McKenna Rodriguez, KSL News Radio.
Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The Senate has approved the House bill that will force the Justice Department to release the files they have on the Jeffrey Epstein case.
The legislation also says that if there is an ongoing investigation, that could also prevent the release of some or all of the files. Remember last week, the president said he wanted to see the Justice Department investigate high-profile Democrats that he says have ties to Jeffrey Epstein. That investigation was ordered by the Attorney General late last week. That could be a reason why the Justice Department now says we can't release some or all of these files.
Your money at this moment. The Dow is down 97 points at this hour. That's 0.2%. We're at 45,980. Coming up, we've got those warm temperatures sticking around for a few more days. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:32. A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
Hard to believe, but Black Friday's here, and you know what that means. It's time for Black Friday money deals at UCCU.
There is an annual tradition now for Black Friday at UCCU where people look forward to, because unlike other Black Friday sales, Black Friday at UCCU is your chance to actually improve your finances.
Like a home equity loan with extra 0.25% off the intro rate, auto and RV loans with no payment for 90 days, low-rate credit cards with 0% interest for 6 months, and $150 cash just for signing up for direct deposit.
It's so easy, and that's just the beginning of Black Friday money deals. Keep going to uccu.com every week for new premium deals that will unlock, and they're things like cutting your auto loan rate in half to earning a higher interest rate on your savings. Enter each week for a chance to win these awesome prizes.
But you got to visit uccu.com every week, but if you come back and enter every time a new deal unlocks, you can win them all. So don't just enter once, go every week, unlock every deal, and win big this Black Friday at UCCU.
UCCU, you're going to love where you bank.
You've got your whole life ahead of you, so choose a Medicare plan you can count on. And that's what you get with a Medicare Advantage plan from United Healthcare. With more than 45 years' experience serving its members, United Healthcare has plans with low monthly premiums that fit your life today and as your needs change tomorrow. The Medicare annual enrollment period ends December 7th, so go to uhc.com/Medicare today. United Healthcare Medicare plans. It's Medicare coverage Utah can count on.
Experience the timeless Christmas classic that has captivated audiences nationwide. From the Michael McLean family to your family. See The Forgotten Carols musical. Like the Christ child was, we are not. with an unforgettable story and songs that are a Christmas tradition. Come meet our next generation and share the magic of Christmas in Orem, Salt Lake City, Ogden, Tooele, Logan, and Saratoga Springs. Tickets at ForgottenCarols.com.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code BOOST25 to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code BOOST25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code BOOST25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's Visa Triple Rewards. And back to you, Aubrey.
Do have one crash right now. This is if you're trying to get onto northbound I-15 from 400 South in Springville. It's on the on-ramp there, moved over to the right-hand shoulder, not causing much of a delay, but just watch out for that there. The rest of I-15 looking great, all the way from Provo up to downtown Salt Lake City, and then on the flip side from Ogden into downtown, things are moving right along. I am still seeing it pretty slow if you're coming out of Saratoga Springs on 2100 North or Pioneer Crossing, heading from Saratoga Springs over to Lehigh. Experience Jenny Oaks Baker's Joy to the World, a sacred celebration Christmas show. Get tickets today. Save 25% using code JOY25. Hurry, limited offer. Tickets at jennyoaksbaker.com. I'm Aubrey Withrich in the KSL Traffic Center.
We're starting to get some rain in the Salt Lake area this morning. We do have a chance today, a bigger chance tomorrow. That rain might stick around on Friday. It clears out for the weekend. We'll stay in the 50s until Tuesday of next week. Right now, it's 48 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
We spoke yesterday about the fact that the U.S. House of Representatives had finally gotten to vote on the Epstein bill. That vote was all but one member voted to pass it on and to release the files. That went to the Senate. They're also on board unanimously. It's now gone to the president for his signature. And Holly, this is a huge turn of events from where we were just a week ago.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they were trying to get 218 votes in the House, waiting for a single House representative, I think from Texas, to be sworn in. Arizona, right?
Yep, to be sworn in. Yep.
So that they could get that, just to get the vote.
That's right. To force the vote. It was a discharge petition to be able to force the vote, right? So this was run by Thomas Massey. He was one of the original sponsors, and he's a Republican, and they only had 4 Republicans who signed on to the discharge petition. It was Representative Massey and 3 Republican women, including Marjorie Taylor Greene and Nancy Mace, which they have been very large President Trump supporters. Marjorie Taylor Greene is now on the outs. President Trump is basically calling her a loser and doing what he does when people don't fall in line all the time. But what's interesting to me is, as you pointed out, they were trying to get these Republican women to take their names off this discharge petition, so they didn't have enough names to force this vote. And now all of a sudden, everybody in the entire Congress has voted for it except for one lone person from Louisiana.
Yeah, and this is certainly not what, at least a few days ago, President Trump wanted.
This was a colossal defeat for Donald Trump. He tried mightily to stop the vote, and it passed with only a single member of Congress voting against it. A defeat of this scale has just never happened to Donald Trump before, and frankly, he seems rattled by it.
That was ABC News Chief Washington Correspondent Jonathan Karl. Maybe overstating it a little bit, because Trump did come around a little toward the end and say,
well, I think when it becomes obvious, right? So Thomas Massey said he felt like he had at least 100 Republicans who were going to vote for it once it hit the floor. And it was after that point that President Trump said, fine, just go ahead and release them.
Yeah, and so now it's on Trump's desk. When asked if he thought President Trump would veto the bill. House Speaker Johnson said he didn't know.
I'm deeply disappointed in this outcome. I think I'm told I've been at the state dinner. I don't know. I was just told that Chuck Schumer rushed it to the floor and put it out there preemptively. It needed amendments. I just spoke to the president about that. We'll see what happens.
It's awkward that he's complaining about it at this point because the House pushed it through. I'm deeply disappointed in the outcome. He's not the dissenting vote.
No, but again, so he had continued to state, Speaker Mike Johnson, that the Senate needed to amend it, that they needed to improve it, they needed to do some things, but that's not what happened.
No, the Senate just took it, and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer spoke on the floor of the Senate after the Senate formally received the bill.
The job is not done. The vote is not the end, it's only the beginning. Once the president signs the bill, he must apply and execute it faithfully. There must be no funny business from Donald Trump.
So what happened with unanimous consent, and that is a process.
That's what happened in the Senate.
In the Senate,
right?
And that is a process where instead of everybody votes individually, they ask for unanimous consent, and that's the basically speak now or forever hold your peace moment. And nobody said no, and so they took that as a unanimous vote. No ability to change it, no ability to offer an amendment or talk about it, and that was what Speaker Mike Johnson was unhappy about.
So he was unhappy, and maybe you can help me with this, that the Senate didn't wrestle with it, didn't make some amendments, didn't do some things. He thought it was going to be tied up for a little while.
Yeah,
because
that's part of
his House sent it through.
They did, and again, this is all political maneuverings in some way, but Speaker Mike Johnson was vehemently opposed to actually bringing this to the floor, right? And he basically had his hand forced by this discharge petition.
Right.
It literally forces a vote. So if the vote had been really close, for example, then you could be looking at the president could veto it, and without a veto-proof majority, then the bill would be dead. But this is a veto-proof majority, no question.
Okay, so sitting on Trump's desk, what happens after he signs it? ABC News chief Washington correspondent Jonathan Karl says there may be delays and redactions in what the Department of Justice actually releases to the public.
The bill says that the files must be publicly released within 30 days of the president signing it into law. But this doesn't mean that we're going to see everything in 30 days. The Department of Justice is going to control this process, and they have at least two ways to obstruct the release of all the files. They can cite an ongoing investigation, and remember, Donald Trump has ordered an investigation into Democrats associated with Epstein. And the Justice Department can heavily redact the materials in the name of protecting the victims.
So we talked about that yesterday. They can say, the Department of Justice can claim, accurately, I guess, that there's an ongoing investigation. And anytime you have public records in respect to an active investigation, the investigating agency can say, hey, we don't want to release these yet because there's an investigation going on. Trump has called for an investigation into Democrats and their involvement
That's
with
right.
Epstein.
Just over the weekend, he asked for that.
So
Yep.
it's a complete shift in terms of the focus of this. Let's look at the Democrats as well. Will the Department of Justice say, look, we now have a mission, an order from the president himself saying we need to investigate Democrats. Why could we release something that to the public while we're doing a internal investigation?
Can I talk to you about the 5 people who didn't vote? There were 5 representatives who did not vote on this bill. 3 Democrats and 2 Republicans. So 2 of the Democrats missed the vote because of health reasons, but said they would have voted for it. That is Don Beyer of Virginia and Steve Womack of Arkansas. And then Greg, it looks like Caesar of Texas, also a Democrat. But, Steve Womack is a Republican, sorry. Michael Rulli of Ohio, Republican, and Mickey Sherrill of New Jersey, Democrat. They didn't give reasons why they didn't vote. But for some reason, there were 5 people who didn't vote. There was only 1 no vote.
Okay, so, yeah, that changes things a little bit. So 5 people didn't vote at all. And 400 some odd voted in favor.
It was 427.
1 voted against.
To 1.
And then the Senate just
unanimous
by acclamation,
That's
so
right.
to speak.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Mike Johnson did share his concerns about the bill before yesterday's vote. I wanted to just play one other thing from him.
It fails to fully protect victim privacy.
It could create new categories of victims. It potentially jeopardizes grand jury secrecy. It fails to prohibit release of child sexual abuse materials that are not appropriately defined in the legislation. It jeopardizes future federal investigations, and we have national security concerns regarding classified information.
I don't know if I buy into a lot of that, but victim privacy is paramount, and it's something
I think,
that I'm involved
look,
in. But
there
the
are,
victims have almost
there
waived
are a
their
number of
privacy.
victims who have come forward publicly to talk about releasing these files. Also, I think it's clear victim names will be redacted, but that's, if you look at the actual language, you will redact appropriate stuff, but you don't have to redact like pages and pages and pages, which I think some people were trying to do.
You redact personal information.
Personal identifying information,
Right.
for example. Yeah. So this is another interesting story. This impacts the 2026 elections potentially. A federal court has blocked the Texas redistricting changes that gave Republicans 5 additional seats. We'll talk about that when we come back.
Do you know how to tell if a clogged drain is something to worry about or not? What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and I understand it's annoying and inconvenient, but sometimes a clogged drain can be a sign there's a more serious issue with your sewer main line. If the drains in the lowest level of your home aren't draining, or you flush a toilet and it comes up somewhere else like a shower or a floor drain, I'm urging you to look at this as more than just an annoyance. The last thing I want you to experience is a sewer backup. If you're a homeowner experiencing any of these issues, the first step would be to snake the line to see if it's just a blockage, which one of our drain techs can do for only $29. Yep, you heard that right. Any Hour Services will snake any drain line with normal access for only $29. Sinks, showers, tubs, toilets, floor drains, laundry drains, even that sewer main line that connects to the city. We'll snake any line for just $29. For help with your drain issues, call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7700. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
At KSL News Radio, we have a 30-year legacy of honoring Utah teachers, but we can't do it without your help. Please tell us about an important teacher in your life on the KSL Teacher Tribute Wall, presented by Cypress Credit Union. Each month, one lucky teacher wins a $500 gift card from Cypress Credit Union, a $250 gift card to Harmon's, plus season tickets to Hale Center Theater. Say thanks to your teacher today at kslnewsradio.com/teacher from Cypress Credit Union and KSL News Radio.
I'm Jordan Wilcox, your Utah tax attorney. When life gets overwhelming, some things tend to fall by the side.
I'm Carlos Sanchez from Draper, Utah. I was managing a business, helping out a business, doing paperwork and getting paid, and my wife got sick. We filed taxes, but then we got audited. And when I went and talked to the IRS, they didn't give me any choice. The IRS pretty much said, this is what you owe us, when are you gonna pay us? And we're talking quite a bit. But every time I drive, I listen to the radio. Jordan Wilcox, Jordan Wilcox. So I figure there's a reason this guy's on the radio. So I called him.
Put an end to IRS collection and aggression today.
The amount that the IRS came up with, close to $250,000, and the offer in compromise was about $7,600. That's it.
This is Utah tax attorney Jordan Wilcox. Let's solve your IRS nightmare. Visit endtaxworry.com.
Go for it. The outcome, it was worth it. I'm okay.
endtaxworry.com.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Cunahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions and bring you a special Black Friday offer.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have leaf filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/deal to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
That's leaffilter.com/deal. And now, as a special Black Friday offer, you can get a free gutter inspection, plus up to 35% off. This is our best offer of the season. Unlock it now at leaffilter.com/deal. See representative for warranty details.
Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates, this weekend only. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Friday, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission, free parking, free delivery. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
Mr. Mac, suiting for every important chapter of your life. Weddings, proms, new job, any celebration, mission callings, and more. Mr. Mac's there to suit your needs with 9 locations or MrMac.com.
Do you worry about how much someone drinks?
Do you feel neglected or unloved? If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are not alone.
Al-Anon and Alateen can help. Call 1-866-200-0223 or visit alanon.org/help.
Inside Sources.
Redistricting has become a national, word lately as we talk about what's happening in California, what's happening here in Utah, what's happening at least looking forward to the midterm elections next year, and not the least of which was Texas, which kind of started the dominoes, as I recall. Of course, Utah's redistricting case had been in the works for a while, but Texas, and correct me if I'm wrong, Holly, but the Trump administration put some pressure on Texas governor, who put some pressure on the Texas legislators to redistrict the state in anticipation of the midterms in 2026. They did that, redistricted the entire state, which would have, according to history, given Republicans 5 more seats in the House of Representatives if tradition followed the majority in each of those districts.
Right. So, of course, it was always a little risky because, this is not a done deal, by the way. So they've already appealed to the Supreme Court as of yesterday. So it changed Republican heavy districts into Republican leaning districts. So there was always a chance, right, that they wouldn't have picked up those seats. But there is a whole slew of states that are doing redistricting things. Ours is different. Utah is different. We're an outlier because ours is a legal process that started really after the 2021 legislative session, where new congressional seats were made or districts were made. And besides that one, what we have is, I'm looking at the Washington Post, and who nicely did a very nice graph for us to tell us which states are looking at. So I'll tell you, in Indiana, for example, the Indiana legislature refused to redistrict. They thought they were getting pressure from the administration to redistrict and give them an additional 2 Republican seats, but they didn't have the votes. And President Trump over the weekend said that there were Republican leaders there who should be impeached because they didn't basically redistrict. But now you also have the Department of Justice, the DOJ they have filed a lawsuit against California because California basically did the same thing that Texas did, although their redistricting efforts went to the voters. And 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks and a day, voters overwhelmingly approved this new map, which would give 5 additional Democratic seats. So this is really, it's a very, very tight House right now. Republicans have a 219 vote to 214 vote majority in Congress. But we'll see what happens with Texas.
Yeah, and so what we're talking about is yesterday a decision came down from a 3-judge panel in Texas, one judge being a former Supreme Court justice there, a U.S. District Court judge, a judge who sits on the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. It's an unusual panel, Holly, and I think it's because it's an unusual case, and so the law may provide that in certain circumstances you can have a panel of judges hear a case, much like an appellate court.
That's right.
They came down with their decision, and they said that what the Texas legislature did was unconstitutional, meaning the map that was drawn up in 2021 after the census, which is what most states do. They have the census and then they draw up their maps, is the one that will be used, at least in the time being, for the vote in 2026, the legislative vote. Of course, candidates are sort of scrambling, going, what's going on? And as you indicated, the Texas governor has said we're going to appeal it to the United States Supreme Court.
And they've already filed that appeal.
That's got to be heard fairly quickly because
if it's going to impact 2026.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah, and the United States Supreme Court can say we're not going to hear that. Yeah. The ruling will stand. But yeah, it's a big. I didn't expect this, especially so quickly. The judges heard the case and made the decision based on constitutional grounds, and this is something that would distinguish it from Utah, because the maps that were ultimately proposed by the Texas legislature would have unconstitutionally restricted the ability for minorities to be elected and not be fairly
and that's
represented.
key. That's key. Exactly. So in the Washington Post article that I'm looking at, right, it's saying, well, we wanted to give Texas Republicans are saying we wanted to give ourselves more seats, right? But this panel of these 3 judges said that there was substantial evidence that shows that Texas racially gerrymandered the 2025 map. And this is District Judge Jeffrey V. Brown, who is a Trump appointee, and he's the one saying this. And then further, the distinction between racial and political motivations is important legally, and the Supreme Court has ruled, at least so far, that states cannot allow race to predominate when drawing lines.
Yeah, and that's what the Constitution prevents as well. And so when you talk about, you said it exactly right, which is the distinction between maybe Texas and Utah, when you're talking about racial or political lines, the reason why you can't redistrict based on racial lines is because it's a constitutionally protected class.
Right.
You cannot discriminate against someone, especially in terms of voting, based on their race. Being a Democrat, and I've said this before, is not a constitutionally protected class.
Right. Right.
So you don't have a constitutional right to be treated equally as a Democrat or Republican. That's the problem that we have here in Utah, is the Democrats are saying, hey, we don't have a right we're not going to have a seat at the table because the Republicans have gerrymandered us. It's a separate question, separate issue. May end up at the Supreme Court of the United States at some point, but it'll be different. It'll be a different argument than the Texas one, because Texas is based on racial discrimination. My understanding of what the courts did.
Right. What's interesting, though, with the Supreme Court right now is they do have a case in front of them that I think involves Louisiana, but they're considering what they're calling race-blind districts, right? And so that actually would change because you can't ever actually be colorblind, right? And I know people like to say that, oh, I'm colorblind, but one of the things I learned is that when we, especially people who are white, when we say we're colorblind, what that actually means is we don't recognize anybody else, right? It's actually a form of discrimination because there are things that are different, right? There are districts that are predominantly Latino or predominantly Black, right? And so when you say, well, we're going to be quote unquote race blind, what you end up doing is disenfranchising those voters. So they already have a case, the Supreme Court does. So I don't know if they'll somehow piggyback this one onto that. But what's interesting is their primary for Texas is early March. And their filing deadline is in 3 weeks. It's December 8th.
And you have to wonder also, because the administration has been putting pressure on other states than Texas to get their act together and do some redistricting, have their state representatives redistrict the state. They may be now hesitant to do that, looking at a 3-judge panel in Texas and saying, hey, that was unconstitutional there. Yeah. How are we going to make ours different? How are we going to be in line, in lockstep with the Constitution, where a judge panel has looked at Texas and said, wait a minute, what you've done here is wrong.
And Texas is the biggest by far, right?
Sure.
So we're looking at Missouri, maybe 1 seat, Kansas, maybe 1 seat, North Carolina, 1 seat. These are for Republicans. Indiana, potentially 2, but Indiana said we don't have the votes, we're not doing it.
Right.
So again, we're talking about how does this impact the 2026 elections. And really, historically, we know that the party in power, especially the presidential party in power, that their midterm elections are usually swing pretty hard for the other party.
Right.
Right.
You would expect that. Yeah.
You would expect that just historically. So for a lot of people feel like this is trying to change the game midstream, right, to favor the Republican Party so that they can continue to hold seats in the House.
And you think midterm elections are a year away, which is true, November of 2026. But there's so much that has to be done in the interim. And candidates and voters like to know who they're voting for and who they're running against and what their district is, and especially when you have filing deadlines. And I mean, even Utah's current map is not set in stone by any means. I mean, there's going to be some.
You know what's interesting is there has no appeal has been filed on this map, and I have seen some reporting that Speaker Mike Schultz said because of the timing when this judge released, like the drop dead deadline was November 10th, and it was 11:41 p.m., giving them 19 minutes to be able to respond. He's indicated that perhaps I think maybe they're not going to appeal, and it's going to stand for 2026.
Wow. That would be surprising.
It's still a journey.
Yeah. Well, and so stay tuned on all of that. So much going on in our country and our state and others in terms of redistricting. Also, some things going on with Granite School District. They're looking to close a couple of their elementary school. Parents were highly motivated to have their voices heard at a recent conference. And we'll get to the latest on the decision with the superintendent of Granite School District after this break.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. Our top story this hour, a Camas woman accused of killing her husband with fentanyl will not be getting a new bail hearing. A judge says there has not been enough change in the Corey Richins case, so she will remain behind bars without bail. Richins is charged with aggravated murder and attempted murder. Her trial is scheduled to begin in February. Our top national story this hour. The Jeffrey Epstein Files bill is on the way to President Trump's desk. After being passed in both the House and Senate, the Department of Justice would then have 30 days to release the files. First, schools in Texas were ordered to post the Ten Commandments in their classrooms. Now they've been told to take them down. Here is ABC's Jim Ryan.
During their last session, Texas legislators ordered school districts to display the Ten Commandments in a conspicuous location in each classroom. Republican Candy Noble carried the bill in the Texas House.
Nothing is more deep-rooted in the fabric of our American tradition of education than the Ten Commandments.
But now a federal judge has sided with parents in 14 school districts who sued, saying the posting of the biblical scripture in their kids' classrooms violates religious freedom and the separation of church and state. Jim Ryan, ABC News, Dallas.
Your money at this moment. The Dow is down 37 points. That's less than 0.1%. We're at 46,072. Coming up, a few scattered showers, but still warmer than normal. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 10:02.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Woke radical liberals are screwing up this country. But Congressman Blake Moore is fighting back. He backed one big, beautiful tax cut for working families, ending Social Security taxes for nearly all seniors, and taxes on tips and overtime gone. Call Congressman Blake Moore at 202-225-0453 and thank him for backing working family tax cuts and putting America first. Paid for by American Prosperity Alliance.
As the temperature sinks a little lower and the wind blows a little harder, next thing you know, the winter cold is going to be seeping in through your old drafty windows. So now's the time to call Advanced Window Products for custom-crafted, state-of-the-art windows that'll seal up your house and cut your heating bill. Get on their schedule before winter, and not only do you get factory direct pricing far below what the big-name companies charged, but Advanced will knock an extra $2,500 off your quote. They'll create beautiful double-pane windows with insulated frames, any style, any color, and the security features to keep your family safe. You'll get a lifetime warranty from a local company in business here for 39 years. Financing? 60 months, 0%. Or even buy now, pay later. So make the call. Seal up the house for winter with $2,500 off on 10 windows or more. Call for a quote, 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100, or go to advancedwindows.com.
The
KSL News Radio Movie Show comes to My Hearing Centers Friday from 10 to 1. But first, discover what My Hearing Centers can do for you. My Hearing Centers uses advanced technology to diagnose and treat hearing loss. These comprehensive evaluations determine the best treatment options. Then enjoy lifetime support with regular check-ins, cleaning, and maintenance. Call My Hearing Centers at 801-701-1629. 801-701-1629 for more details. My Hearing Centers has offices from Ogden to St. George.
The holiday season is shining bright at Junction Commons Park City. Join them for their second annual tree lighting on Thursday, November 20th, starting at 4 p.m. Bring your family, friends, and neighbors for an evening filled with holiday magic. Enjoy live, festive music, delicious food trucks, and the always popular Swig Soda truck, serving up your favorite drinks. Kids will love getting creative with holiday crafts, and everyone can soak in the sights, sounds, and the magic of the holiday season. As the evening winds down, gather around the highlight of the night when Outlets Park City flip the switch and light up their beautiful holiday tree as they officially kick off the holiday season. It's the perfect way to celebrate. Festive, free, and full of holiday cheer. Don't miss the magic. Thursday, November 20th at 4 p.m. at Junction Commons, Park City's second annual tree lighting. Junction Commons, mountaintop holiday fun in Park City.
Just into the KSL newsroom, the First Presidency of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has decided that beginning in April 2026, General Conference will no longer include a Saturday evening session. Let's get a look now at traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's Visa Triple Rewards. And back to you, Aubrey.
Well, things are looking pretty good if you're traveling from Spanish Fork all the way up to Willard Bay on I-15 northbound or southbound. Things are looking good there. 215's east and west side belts both looking good as well. We do still have the crash on the on-ramp from to northbound I-15 from 400 south in Springville. Doesn't look like it's causing any delays, and it looks like they're in the final cleanup stages there, but just watch out for that if you're taking or if you're trying to get onto the freeway there. Culligan Water, healthy, pure, clean drinking water, cleaner laundry, and even softer skin and hair. Get rid of the hard, funky tasting water. Call Culligan today. 801-509-9602. Culligan Water. Water you love. I'm Aubrey Withrich in the KSL Traffic Center.
We should get up to 57 degrees today with scattered showers, mostly in central and southern Utah. Tomorrow, 53, 50 on Friday. Chance of rain both tomorrow and Friday. Right now, it's 50 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Following up on a story we talked about in the last couple of weeks involving the Granite School District, there was a meeting last night. Dozens of parents, teachers, and neighbors filled the board meeting to hear the fate of two elementary schools in Granite School District, Morningside Elementary and Eastwood Elementary. The board was going to decide whether or not they would shut down those schools, whether to keep them in place or whether to sort of stay the thing. There was a lot of passion and compassion at the meeting last night. It lasted well over an hour.
Instead of investing $500,000 in an outside study, invest $500,000 in our schools.
I urge you to choose the option that keeps our children, our families, and our neighborhood together.
So the board is considering closing these schools because of declining enrollment, and they have changed their mind. And we have Ben Horsley, Granite School District Superintendent, on the line with us. Hi, Ben. Thanks for joining us again.
No problem.
So I will just tell you, I was a little bit surprised to hear that the study has been suspended indefinitely. What led to this decision?
There's a couple of factors. The board was not comfortable moving forward with the recommendation on one part because the recommendation for one of these elementary schools, it houses two different programs besides the traditional track, a gifted and talented program and a dual language immersion program. So the recommendation was to simply close down the traditional track until we could make some decisions regarding what we're going to do with gifted and talented and that dual language immersion program. We are seeing a reduced amount of families who have interest in dual language immersion. So the board's concern was that the recommendation, frankly, didn't go far enough in giving guidance and direction on what should happen with those programs, and as such, displacing the traditional neighborhood kids didn't feel good at that point in time. So this isn't that nothing's going to happen. This is a suspension of the study indefinitely until we can get some additional information to help us make good decisions that are going to be in the best interest of our students and our families.
With respect to the study, Ben, the soundbite that we just heard, I think, was probably from a parent indicating that it was a $500,000 study, and her comment was, well, why can't we just save that money, put it into the schools, and keep them running? Is that what a study like this would probably cost?
So that was referencing the request from the community that we conduct an independent analysis and pay for an outside consultant. That was something that we considered. The cost for a comprehensive this study, to be clear, did not cost $500,000. It did take a tremendous amount of time and effort on the district's part to conduct that portion. We did pay for some outside data and research from an independent demographer, but we do that every 5 years anyway. So with respect to that, she was referencing us potentially spending that $500,000 for a further study on this process. And so her goal in that statement, I don't want to put words in her mouth, was simply stop studying school closures. Well, with respect, we can't stop doing that. There is a 37% decline in our school district and birth rates. This problem is not going to simply go away just because we stopped this study at this point in time. What the board has essentially decided is we need more information to be able to make decisions long term that are going to be in the best interest of our families.
I have a question about what you're looking at right now, because these schools had lower enrollment rate, and you've mentioned lower birth rate and maybe some other factors. What does it actually look like in these classrooms?
Well, the challenge that we're trying to address, and some of our families respectfully disagree that this is even a problem, and some of our teachers as well, despite the association supporting the study and previous closures. When you get a smaller subset of population, we're still allocating the same ratio of teachers. So when you get a smaller school population, that doesn't mean smaller class sizes. Just as when you have larger school populations, it doesn't mean larger class sizes. We allocate the same amount of teaching resources for the amount of students. So when you get under 200, really under 300 students, you start to see more split classes, meaning a third and fourth split perhaps, or an outsized amount of students in one grade level. For instance, at one of these schools, we have a class that had at the start of the year 38 kids in it. Now, that's not because we don't want that. We want that class to be that large. The school staff, the principal, and the school community council actually figure out how they're going to allocate that resources. But Eastwood Elementary, in this particular case, because of its student population, was only allocated 8.5 teachers. That's an equitable amount of teachers that we would allocate in this situation based on the ratio that we do district-wide and what you see across the state. Now they have to figure out how to place those 8 teachers in 6th grade levels. So you can see how there's a challenge there. If you only have 17 kids coming into kindergarten, like we did in one of the other schools in this location this fall, suddenly you have a kindergarten class with only 17 kids. Well, that means that some other class is going to be a little more outsized, if that makes sense.
Makes a lot of sense, Ben. And we're speaking with Ben Horsley, Granite School District Superintendent, about comments and a study, or at least comments that are being made right now to decide what to do about declining enrollment in Granite School District and whether it should or could result in the closure of 2 elementary schools. You talked about the fact that we need more information, maybe not $500,000 more information, but where do we go from here?
I like to think that we're going to be able to understand and know the direction of our community, whether that's an expansion of our gifted and talented program, and if so, where should that be housed long term? What we didn't want to do is make a decision last night and then have to come and make another decision that would impact some of those same families 2 or 3 years down the road from now. So you close a school, a kid gets moved to a different location, and because we didn't have a comprehensive enough solution, we potentially didn't solve all the long-term problems. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so do you have a time frame? So it's been suspended indefinitely, but it's not over. When might it be revisited?
We will start working we'd actually like to look at the effectiveness of our previous closures. We've already closed 10 schools across the district, including 3 in this area 2 or 3 years ago. So we'd like to analyze and see how effective those closures have been. What our concern is in some of those instances, are we actually pushing people out of their traditional public school, out of their neighborhood school, and it's actually promulgating even more closures. There's additionally a bill on the Hill that was supposed to be heard in a committee meeting this morning. That is my understanding has been postponed until the first week of the legislative session, that would require school districts to offer up our property when we sell it to charter schools. And that's our competition. We've done that before. We've actually sold property in Granite School District to a charter school. And what that did is perpetually drained with this declining enrollment schools and impacted our schools now. So we're not exactly excited about the prospect of having to sell our property to charter schools and our competition and then further promulgate this cycle. And so we actually would like to see what happens with that bill as well.
Thanks so much, Ben. We've been speaking with Ben Horsley, the superintendent for Granite School District. And speaking of population and demographic changes, well, this is interesting because Utah's on pace to add 2 million people over the next 40 years. We're going to talk with Mallory Bateman, the director of demographic research with the Kempsey Gardner Policy Institute, about what these numbers mean for Utah when we come back.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Cunahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions and bring you a special Black Friday offer.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have Leaf Filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/radio to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
That's leaffilter.com/radio. And now, as a special Black Friday offer, you can get a free gutter inspection, plus up to 35% off. This is our best offer of the season. Unlock it now at leaffilter.com/radio. See representative for warranty details.
We're joined by Russell Fawcett, owner of the Stern Team of Amada Real Estate. Remember, you can learn your home's true value in 30 seconds. Visit sternteam.com to find out more. Russell, talk to us about affordability right now, and which is a huge challenge for Utah buyers. How are first-time buyers expected to navigate this current market?
Yeah, so right now, the nice thing is our inventory has ticked up. Days on market is a little bit longer, so buyers are able to go in and negotiate. So in the current landscape, I mean, really, it is kind of tipped towards buyers where definitely go in. On most homes, they can get closing costs. They can buy down the rate. It's still a lot of the traditional ways of how we get a buyer in. But it's definitely in a lot of the counties we finally have tipped completely to a buyer's market.
That is interesting. So how many days on market right now is typical, and is that normal for this time of year?
Yeah, so we are across, so last I looked, it was about 64 as a whole. But as I've looked, it really dove into hyper-local markets. We have a lot of areas that are now even over 100 days on market.
Oh, wow, so more than 3 months.
Remember, you can learn your home's true value in 30 seconds. Visit sternteam.com to find out more.
The United States is facing a mental health crisis, but there is hope. At Huntsman Mental Health Foundation, they're transforming how mental health is treated and researched, bringing compassion, innovation, and access to those who need it most. Your donation helps fund life-saving care and cutting-edge research that leads to better treatment for everyone. It's already making a difference. Huntsman Mental Health Foundation has built Utah's first ever mental health crisis care center, open 24/7 to anyone, regardless of ability to pay. They've also recently launched a youth crisis care program at Huntsman Mental Health Institute, giving kids and teens immediate support. And Huntsman Mental Health Foundation is expanding services like therapy, medication management, geriatric care, and treatment-resistant support. Join us. Be part of the change. Donate today at hmhf.org. That's hmhf.org.
Just how good is Pure Talk's current deal for unlimited wireless? Well, you might say it's the deal of your lifetime. Because right now, for just $29.95 a month, Pure Talk is offering unlimited talk, text, and data for life. Not your phone's life, your life. This is Pure Talk's top-tier plan. It comes with a crazy fast 5G network along with a 30-gig hotspot. And at just $29.95 a month, there has never been a better opportunity to lock in a ridiculously low rate for as long as you live. And save thousands and thousands of dollars along the way. This plan is normally $65 a month, but if you switch today, you will save over 50% every single month for the rest of your life. See what I mean? It really is the deal of your lifetime. Dial pound 250, say Mike Rowe. Offer ends 12/7. Some restrictions apply. Details at puretalk.com.
Getting help with electrical repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Over the years, you've brought them into your home. You were prescribed opioids after the C-section and after Dad's back injury. They helped when you were in pain, and you held on to them just in case. But did you know holding on to unused opioids puts your family at risk? Trouble with opioids can start at home with unused medicines such as pills, patches, and syrups. You can remove the risk and protect your family. Find out how at www.fda.gov/drug disposal.
And expanded Inside Sources.
We've been talking a lot about population fluctuation. We even talked a minute ago about schools closing down because of declining enrollment. Yeah. But some research are saying that Utah's population will actually grow 2 million people in the next 40 years, which is 5 times the U.S. average. Utah's population is projected to surpass 5.5 million people by 2065, according to a new report from the University of Utah's Kem C. Gardner Policy Institute. Right now, we just barely surpassed 3.5 million. So that's like a
couple million.
Like
more.
50% increase.
So we have Mallory Bateman with us, Director of Demographic Research at the Kem C. Gardner Policy Institute, to talk to us about this new study. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
So with these numbers, my very first question out of the gate is, where are all these people going to live?
You know, they're going to live, we think, largely along the places that already have a lot of people. So the Wasatch Front and then down in southwest Utah, but then also kind of those counties neighboring. So Tooele, Wasatch, the places that have seen growth recently. We also see some fast growth there as well.
Where does the growth come from, Mallory? Because we have been talking about declining birth rates, and Utah is not immune from that. Are people moving from other parts of the country, other parts of the world into Utah?
Yeah, so it's both. So we do this through a demographic and economic model. And so we look at births, deaths, and movers, so migration. And we think in the later part of this projection horizon, more people will be moving into the state than the births minus deaths kind of part of the growth. So we are experiencing those declining fertility rates, and we see that in the data. But we think that the economy is still going to grow, and we're going to have jobs that people are going to want to fill. And so in order to do that, people are going to have to move in.
How is this going to impact housing costs? Because we're already way up there, it feels like.
Yeah, that's outside my wheelhouse. We'll see. And I think, it's just kind of how we fit into the broader Intermountain market maybe, or the national picture. We'll see how that goes. But we provide these baseline information data points so that different, sectors of the economy can look at them and think about the future.
And this may also be an unfair question, Mallory, but why Utah? I mean, if we're 5 times the national average in terms of population growth prospects over the next 40 years, what do you think it is about Utah, or maybe it's just the Intermountain West, that's causing people to want to come here?
Yeah, I mean, we've been a fast-growing state, and it's that average annual rate of growth is what is the 5 times higher. If you look at the northeastern part of the U.S. or the Rust Belt, they've been experiencing population decline already. And so the fact that we've continued to grow for the past several decades, I mean, since we started being counted in the census, but really strongly since 1990, we think that hopefully we'll still be a place that people want to live and make a home in.
So Utah County is where I live, and I live over on the east side, but on the west side, it continues to really grow. I know transportation is a big issue. Is Utah County one of the ones expected to get a lot of growth?
It is. We think that it's going to really lead out in the population growth, and we have over 750,000 new residents over that 40-year period. So, Utah County is a strong population center, and we do think part of that, the growth dynamic is a little different in Utah County, where we think there will be a lot of births because it is kind of a unique place compared to some other parts of the state. So that, birth minus death part of the growth is pretty different in Utah County than in the rest of the state.
You spoke earlier, Mallory, about growth being largely, at least in terms of the study, would be along the Wasatch Front. But the Wasatch Front, at least as it relates to Salt Lake County, doesn't have a lot of growth. Potential. There's no room in the inn in some respects. And of course, I'm overstating things, but does this mean we're going to have more high density housing? It's something like that's going to have to occur?
I mean, I think yes. That might be my urban planning background bias, but I think there's a lot of different ways that places grow, and it doesn't always have to be, a little horse property in South Jordan. We've already seen that change happen a lot within Salt Lake City, South Salt Lake, kind of those dense downtown areas. And so I think, we'll see how things change. Markets can change and people's desires can change, but 40 years is a long time, so I do want to throw that out as well. We'll see what people are looking for out in the future.
So you mentioned that 40 years is a long time. I was going to ask you about that. Is how easy is it to project out? Like where do you feel like your numbers are most accurate? Is it 5 years out, and then you're using these modeling statistics to be able to get to the 40? Where do you see that?
We do have a little bit more certainty in the upcoming 10 to 15 years because there's things like certain economic activities throughout the state. Like there's a lot of energy developments in certain parts of the state, or an inland port that's being put in Iron County. There's different things like that we have more certainty around. And so as you get farther out, there is more uncertainty. The only way that we're going to know is, in 40 years, we come back and check these numbers. We do get to revise them every 4 years. And so we get new inputs that help change the trajectory of what the lines look like. But yeah, that longer range look is it depends too on policy decisions and things that happen within the state that are kind of outside what we can model.
Yeah, sure.
What can you tell our listeners, Mallory, about the study itself? What factors were being looked at to make this conclusion that Utah's numbers could be so large in the next 40 years?
Yeah, so we look at fertility rates, we look at life expectancy, and then we look at the economy and we model out what that looks like in the future using 23 different industry sectors. That gets broken down to the county levels and regional levels. So it's really those big levers. And then there's a lot of other inputs, obviously, that input that. But we also get things like age structure from the Census Bureau. We share that with this product. So there's a lot of background research that goes into making those assumptions something that is reasonable and likely. And we do feel good about where they are now. But, those assumptions can change. Those assumptions could change in 2 years. And then we'll have to, address those when we get 4 years down the line.
So just another question about maybe unanticipated events like a pandemic.
Yeah.
Do you take any of that into account, or is that just one of the caveats of like barring a global pandemic, this is what we think?
Yeah, it's more the latter. And in our assumptions, like for life expectancy, there is a noticeable change in the data during the COVID period, right? And so we don't think that that's going to happen again in the future. Things like recessions, we can't necessarily predict. I read something recently that no economist ever has actively and done a good job of predicting it before it happens, rather than, the start of it. So it is kind of the broader trend, and it's kind of a directional guide. But obviously things can change between now and 2065.
And speaking of trends, Mallory, were these numbers not necessarily surprising, what you're talking about, that the Kempsey-Gardner, let's say we look back at studies that the Kempsey-Gardner Policy Institute would have done 1, 2, 5, 10 years ago. Is this in line with what we've been expecting?
Yeah, and it's a little bit more moderated growth than we had projected in the past because we have gotten new data inputs that have shown things have changed in different ways than we anticipated when we did this work previously. So things like the total fertility rate, now it's lower than we had projected as our final outcome in 2017 when we did this work. So we're hitting that 5.6 million in 2065 in these projections, but our last time we did them, we were hitting that 5 years sooner. So I know, 2 million people is a lot, but there's also a little bit of a delay, and that growth rate is slowing down when we have these new data inputs. So I'll be curious to see what it looks like in 4 years.
Yeah, that's so interesting. We've been speaking with Mallory Bateman, Director of Demographic Research for the Kim C. Gardner Policy Institute. And I'll just say this to you, Greg. I don't think we'll be around in 40 years.
I was going to say 40 years, I won't be here. But I think that I like what the Kim C. Gardner Policy Institute does. And I think that what we'll do is we'll have studies again in 1 year and 5 years and 10 years, and we'll see where it's going.
Right.
Not surprising, the more I listen to Mallory, that Utah is as popular as it is, and that if there is going to be growth in the country, states like Utah are going to experience as much as any. But we do have we are almost at the point of no more room in the inn. But
feels that way, but apparently we can add 2 million more. Come on in.
It seems like it. Well, an audit shows that the State Board of Education has been neglecting 4 Utah schools for the deaf and blind, and that more oversight is needed. We'll get into more on that after this break.
10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. Our top story this hour, Rubicon is filing a second lawsuit against former Utah Attorney General Sean Reyes. Almost 40 employees claim Reyes and his team abused their power by linking workers to labor trafficking allegations. Employees say it damaged their careers, reputation, and finances. Our top national story this hour, a Chicago woman is demanding answers from a hospital she says discharged her while she was in labor.
I was stripped of my dignity as a person because I was treated less than an animal.
38-year-old Mercedes Wells says she already spent 6 hours in the hospital and was having contractions 1 minute apart, but then the nurse sent her home before she was seen by a doctor. She gave birth 8 minutes after being wheeled out of the hospital inside her truck. The CEO of Franciscan Health Crown Point Hospital says they have started a thorough investigation into the incident. Your money at this moment, the Dow is down 64 points right now. We're at 46,027. Coming up, clouds, but warmer than normal. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 10:31. Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
We're joined again by Russell Fawcett, owner of the Stern team of Omada Real Estate. Russell, where are we going to put 2 million people in the next 40 years? What is that going to do to housing prices?
Yeah, one, they're going to keep going up. I mean, along the Wasatch Front, we're still a little bit landlocked, right? And there's not a lot of vacant spots still. So we will end up starting to have, go up. And I don't know that we need, 100-story buildings, but we'll definitely see more, 3-4-story condo complexes popping up. And then, kind of the thing right now even for our buyers that maybe don't have the money to buy a home, right in Salt Lake proper, areas like Eagle Mountain, Tooele, builders are still building. That's where we're expanding, and builders are able to offer quite a few incentives as well. So not only do you get a little bit more home, builders are buying down your rate, they're buying loans in bulk, and so, the interest rates are a little bit more affordable. So we're going to keep growing and expanding north, south, east, west, wherever we can.
And up.
Right, and you're in touch with lenders as well. Let me ask you this. We've heard about the possibility of a 50-year mortgage. Is that getting any traction in the lending community? It's maybe it's attractive, Russell, for first-time buyers, but boy, 50 years seems like a long time.
Yeah, and there's a lot to still go into that one because really when you do the math on it, it comes out to be about a couple $100. And honestly, during COVID, they actually introduced a 40-year mortgage, but typically that costs anywhere from, a half a point or a point more, which it made the savings like $50 to extend it out to 40 years. So they didn't really get traction. But one of the things I like about that, and maybe we'll talk about, portable mortgages later, is at least the administration is talking about ways to make homes more affordable. So I don't know that 50 years is the answer, but, at least they're talking about it.
All right. Thanks for joining us. That was Russell Fawcett, owner of the Stern Team of Amada Real Estate. And you can learn your home's true value in 30 seconds by visiting sternteam.com to find out more.
Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa this weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa this weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates, this weekend only. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Friday, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission, free parking, free delivery. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Mountain America's Visa Triple Rewards. And here is Aubrey Withrich.
I-15 is moving great if you're traveling all the way from Utah Lake up to Willard Bay. I am seeing a little bit of slowing if you are on eastbound I-80 between 215 and I-15. I'm not sure what's going on there. I don't see any crashes in the vicinity, but it is a little bit slow if you're getting through that stretch. Otherwise, though, 215's east belt and west belt both moving along great so far. Every day, people struggle with mental health challenges, addiction, or homelessness. Volunteers of America Utah provides counseling, recovery programs, and safe housing. Your donation shows someone that they matter. Visit voaut.org to give today. I'm Aubrey Withrich in the KSL Traffic Center.
We should get up to 57 today for a high in Salt Lake City, 53 tomorrow, 50 on Friday. Each day we have a slight chance of showers. Right now it's 50 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
An audit recently released shows that the State Board of Education has been largely neglecting 4 Utah schools for the deaf and blind. Auditors concluded that the Utah State Board of Education has not given, quote, not given enough time and attention to the Utah schools for the deaf and blind, resulting in recurring financial and management problems.
You know, it's an issue that has been plaguing, unfortunately, the Utah schools for the deaf and the blind. And yet it was yesterday that they presented these findings. Those legislative auditors presented it to members of the Utah legislature yesterday. So do we have Jason Swenson on the line? Jason, thanks so much for joining us again. Can you tell us just how did they present these audit findings yesterday?
Sure, Holly and Greg, happy to do so. Again, it was the legislative auditors sat down in front of the legislative audit subcommittee to review over this performance audit that they've been working on for several months. Again, a performance audit specifically about operations at the Utah schools for the deaf and the blind. And there really was just kind of an overriding theme and message that was revealed in the audit. And that's that the state school board, which now has more of a direct governance responsibility over the Utah schools for the deaf and the blind, just really need to pump up the oversight and attention that's being focused on the schools and also certainly the students who are enrolled in the Utah schools for the deaf and the blind.
We're speaking with Jason Swenson from the Deseret News. Jason, can you tell us, was this a routine audit? Because it seems like we've had conversations about the Utah schools for the deaf and blind in the past, and maybe there was some reason to sort of ramp up or at least do this audit out of its normal sequence.
I think, Greg, the audit request was very much in harmony with added attention that's really been placed from several different areas on the Utah schools for the deaf and the blind. earlier this year, this has been a very, very active year of folks paying attention to some of the challenges, as Holly referenced, happening in that institution that's people have looked at and examined and have sometimes grieved people for several decades. But earlier this year, the State Board of Education established a standing committee to oversee the schools. And then perhaps most importantly, or very importantly, the state legislature during the most recent session passed a House Bill 537, that would reclassify the Utah Schools for the Deaf and the Blind, shifting it from a public corporation to a subdivision of the State Board of Education, which would really then allow or require, the State Board to provide direct oversight for the schools, functional as well as the financial operations, to perhaps help remedy some of those challenges that people have dealt with for several decades now. And obviously, the primary focus is on to improve student outcomes for the 1,100 or so Utah kids who are enrolled in those schools.
So can you talk to us a little bit about some of the oversight or lack of oversight, some of the problems that were uncovered throughout this year?
Sure. Yeah, I think I think because of that lack of oversight that's been identified, there have been problems dealing with reporting. There have been finance issues. There's been a number of administrative turnovers and different things, issues with capital facilities, and really, I think oversight, communication, monitoring, all of those things that have resulted into, again, decade-long challenges that I know both lawmakers as well as the State Board of Education seems really, really eager to try to remedy.
Jason, there are actually, I think, 4 Utah schools for the deaf and blind. Did the audit conclude that it's sort of systemic, or not necessarily one school or another that's a problem, that really the concept or the group, the block of the Utah schools for the deaf and blind are all part of this same concern?
Yes, absolutely. It was very, very much a study of the whole, and the conclusions being that simply more oversight from the State Board of Education must be provided, and in doing so, there's a hope that these can be remedied if it's a priority, with the board recognizing that this is one of their primary responsibilities, that it would be a priority, which would then allow for more comprehensive and reliable data collection and reporting and evaluation, and also opportunities for the Board of Education to work with the folks at the Utah School of the Deaf and Blind and find ways to be strategic in working with each individual student, focusing on better academic achievement by doing things like setting benchmarks and regular reviews that can then be squeezed into data and provided in the regular reporting back to the Board of Education.
I don't know if you know the answer to this question or not, Jason, but I'm a mom of kids with multiple levels of disability. Are these schools providing services to all children in the state who are deaf or blind, or is this a smaller subset of children who have those types of disabilities?
I don't know if I can specifically answer that question. I know that in the audit, they mentioned, or auditors revealed, of course, that this serves a fairly small segment of the state's student population with 3, as they classify, rare and specialized disabilities: deaf or hard of hearing, blind or visually impaired, and deaf-blind. And so it sounds as if those are the profiles of students who are participating in the Utah Schools of the Deaf and the Blind. And again, you have a few hundred that are on campus, a total of about 1,100 being served by the Utah Schools of the Deaf and Blind. And they also have several hundred participating in their parent-infant program for children who are, say, of preschool age, to help get in front and help them with sort of a early start on their education.
Jason, in the remaining minute, you talked about some of the conclusions from this audit, and not the least of which was that the Board of Education hadn't given enough time and attention to these schools, and that there needed to be additional oversight. Those are sort of conclusory conclusions, but was there anything more in terms of how that would be implemented, how that would be done?
Yes, and the State Board of Education is very, very eager to jump on board, accept these challenges, and make things better. The newly appointed Superintendent Molly Hart responded in writing to the legislative audit and noted that they've done the Board of Education has done their own audit to look at operations and find remedies, and also looking at different ways to strategize, establish those benchmarks, and formalize processes that will help ensure better student outcomes. And so certainly the board seems on board through their leadership of Superintendent Hart to really focus a lot of attention. And I think that's going to happen.
Thank you so much for joining us. We've been speaking with Jason Swenson for the reporting on a legislative audit made yesterday. So we just highlighted earlier that Utah's population is projected to surpass 5.5 million by 2065. And as Utah continues to grow, what are we actually doing to make housing more affordable? We're going to get into it with the Stern team of Omada Real Estate next.
You trust us for news and information in your car. Now trust us at home. KSL News Radio has you covered, keeping you informed on the latest breaking news, weather, traffic, sports, and more. Listen on your Amazon Echo or Google Home device. Just say, Alexa, open KSL News Radio. Or listen on the KSL News Radio Listen app. Text the word app to 57500. KSL News Radio. We have you covered.
Ugh, that hard water life, right, Utah? Scale buildup ruining your appliances, skin feeling rough, water tasting, well, less than amazing? There's a better way. Hi, this is the water boy Colson Firmage, and this is Culligan Water, your local water expert, making your water worries a thing of the past. We're talking top-rated water softeners and filters that protect your home, leave your skin feeling silky smooth, and make your water taste fantastic. For over 80 years, Culligan has been right here in Salt Lake City, a family tradition of cleaner water you can trust. Think of us as your friendly neighborhood water scientists. Is your current system even pulling its weight? Don't guess. Call us today for a free water test, no matter what make or model. Just dial 801-509-9602 or visit CulliganSLC.com. And for a limited time, get $1,000 off a new Culligan water filtration system, plus free salt delivery for a whole year. Experience the Culligan difference. Call 801-509-9602 or visit CulliganSLC.com. Culligan, water you'll love.
We have Russell Fawcett in studio with us, owner of the Stern team of Omada Real Estate. And Russell, you mentioned the last time you were in here 10 minutes ago, something about portable mortgages. Can you tell me what those are?
Yeah, so the idea behind a portable mortgage you would actually be able to take your loan with you. So right now it's secured by your home that you have, and you'd be able to take that, and if you were buying another home, essentially transfer that loan to the new one. And be able to keep your, 3% interest rate.
Can you please help me understand how that would work? So if you have a $500,000 loan, are you going to go to a home that is more, and so you're going to add on to the loan? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, so that's where we'd have to figure out the rest of like, okay, when you sell your home, are you getting enough to be able to make a down payment? Do you get a second mortgage? That's the piece that makes this a little bit more challenging, because if you're able just to take the loan, that's awesome. But more than likely, you're probably going to be buying a bigger home. And so you have to figure out, okay, how do I make up that gap? Did I sell my home for enough that I have enough cash to put down with what I've saved? Or, then we get into creative financing. Do they allow a seller carry back where the seller becomes a bank? I mean, there's just a lot of questions around how would I make up the difference if I took my current loan with me.
We often think of mortgages as following the property, not the property owner.
Right.
And so we think about assumable mortgages. Portable mortgages seem to be almost the opposite of that. That you can, as the the debtor on a mortgage, you can take that debt and transfer it to a new property. It's something I guess I'm not familiar with that concept at all.
And it's definitely a newer one, right? So it would act more like a personal loan that is secured by property, and
but the property can change,
right? And so it's kind of on a bigger level, right? If you were to go out and get a business loan and you secured it with your property, if you wanted to move, they actually allow you to do that. You just have to submit the paperwork to be able to transfer, essentially the lien from your current house to the next one for your business loan. So there is a place that it already is happening.
That's so interesting. Can you tell us about your new Omada app? What are you doing that's different for Utah homeowners?
Yeah, so one of the biggest things with our app, so we want to make it easy for you guys to be able to track your journey. So whether that's buying a home, figuring out your mortgage payment, what your home's worth, or even if you need to hire a professional, we've vetted, plumbers, electricians that we're putting on our app to make it easy for you to find someone to work on your home.
Remember, you can learn your home's true value in 30 seconds. Visit sternteam.com to find out more.
Mr. Max, suiting for every important chapter of your life. Weddings, proms, new job, any celebration, mission callings, and more. Mr. Max there to suit your needs with 9 locations or MrMac.com.
If you're ready to buy a home or sell a home and you're worried about the current real estate market because of what you've heard from some of your friends or family, well, we're here to tell you that you really shouldn't be worried, because now is a great time to buy and sell with our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Omada Real Estate.
And here's why. Buyers have more options due to increased inventory, which gives them the power to negotiate for repairs, interest rate buy downs, and closing cost assistance. While at the same time, sellers are still getting top dollar for their homes, with home values that are higher today than ever before. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, the current real estate market presents a win-win opportunity for both buyers and sellers.
But you still do want to make sure that you're working with a team of real estate experts you can trust that can get you some great results. And that's our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Omada Real Estate.
They have helped thousands of Salt Lake City homeowners, and they're ready to help you. To get started, just go to thesternteam.com. That's thesternteam.com, or Google The Stern Team.
And expanded Inside Sources. Inside Sources.
We've been talking about Utah's expected population growth. We had a Kempsey Gardner Institute representative with us earlier who indicated that in the next 40 years, Holly, Utah's population is projected to surpass 5.5 million people, which be a 2 million person increase in 40 years.
Right. And when I hear that, my first question right out of the gate is, what are we going to do about housing? So how do we make it even, how does it become affordable? We already struggle. And so luckily we have with us Russell Fossa, owner of the Stern Team of Omada Real Estate. Just what is your reaction to hearing that big number coming over the next 40 years?
Yeah, the biggest, again, affordability is probably going to be our biggest issue with population growth. And so we've got to start figuring that out now. We're not the first city that's ever grown. So I think we can kind of look at what's happened, when the Phoenix market took off, or Vegas. Like, there's been areas that have grown, and we can go and do those studies to say what should they have done differently as they grew.
We had a market reset, 20, 30 years ago, and it was major reset because of a lot of things that were going on at the time. It may be even been longer than that. Is there any notion, Russell, that the balloon is getting a little big right now in terms of house prices? And I say that because, and you've been really on top of this in terms of first-time buyers, but that American dream of owning a home has become harder and harder and harder as time has gone by, and especially Utah being such a popular market.
Yeah, so there's a couple things that I guess I'm looking at to say I don't believe that we're on a bubble. And so one of the things is that shortage of inventory. The last time that we had a correction, we had a lot of job loss. We had what I call funny mortgages of, interest only, stated income. We actually had people that probably should have never had a mortgage. And so we had a lot of default, and the market was flooded with inventory. This time around, even with, let's say there continues to be strain on jobs, the people that own homes right now that more than likely would sell I think this time around they're going to do more to keep their homes because they do have that 3% interest rate. So the people to buy today, it's very unaffordable. But if you bought prior to COVID, you were in a very, very good place with your mortgage payment. And so this time around, I think we'll actually see, more cars default. We'll see more people file bankruptcy and keep their principal residence. So there's just not a lot of indicators that there's really anything that can happen to push all of us with the 3% interest rate to lose our homes. We're going to do more to keep those homes, which keeps the inventory at bay, especially with the population growth that we're seeing.
You seem to think that things are now in place with respect to lenders and rules and regulations that we didn't have at the last bubble. And you talked about stated income loans. We in the legal profession call them liars loans. But I mean, you could basically, because there was so much confidence that the real estate market was just going to continue to increase, that nobody really cared what the value of the house was or what your income was. But lenders don't have those luxuries anymore, do they?
They don't. They've kept their guidelines pretty strict on making sure you can afford the home. The wave that we might see of defaults are the people that did do a buy down, 3 years ago thinking, oh, I'm going to do this 3-2-1 buy down, and now those are adjusting. But that's such a small percent of the actual total population that, again, I don't see that pushing the inventory to a point that would cause the housing market to correct.
So 40 years is a long way out. Let's just talk about right now, maybe in the next year to 2 years, especially first-time home buyers, right? So those are the people trying to get in for the very first time. Are there resources out there that may be maybe not widely advertised, or how do they do it? Do they borrow money from mom and dad? Like, what's happening here?
There's definitely a lot of, gifting of funds that can happen, the rate buy downs, the closing cost negotiation. And there's definitely some grants out there, but I still think that there definitely needs to be more done in the way of like, okay, do we incentivize builders to build more affordable homes? Do we give a break in taxes for the investor? Because we have a lot of homes out there that people, I call them accidental landlords. They ended up keeping their home and renting it out because they didn't get the price they wanted. And so we have a lot of that if we could work with, maybe incentivize people for a minute to flood the market with some of these more affordable rental homes that could push that first time buyer inventory to where we're not seeing the multiple offers and stuff that we still see.
Do builders have enough incentive right now, Russell, to build the first buyer home? And because in Utah, the average price of a home is something like $600,000, and I know as a builder, maybe building $1 million home is going to be easier than building 4 $250,000 homes. I'm just wondering if our builders have enough incentive to keep some of those affordable housing units coming to the market.
Yeah, we're definitely seeing more townhomes being built, but we don't see the Sugar House bungalow or the Magna, cottage that was once built. We don't see those being built anymore. So I guess just taking a step back and saying, are enough, of these smaller single-family homes being built? There's probably not enough incentive because they're not being built at all. They're building the multifamily.
So we're kind of bound, at least along the Wasatch Front, by mountain ranges, right? So where do people build in the next 20 years, maybe 40 years?
Yeah, I really think you're going to see Tooele County is going to continue to grow. I mean, they'll have to figure out the water, but I feel like if Vegas figured it out, I mean, there's enough water there for all the people there that we can figure it out here as well. And then I still think you're going to continue to see the growth north and south. So you'll see, Spanish Fork, Springville, Salem, I mean, growth that way. And then up north, you'll see it into Brigham City and Box Elder County. So we'll just continue to expand. But I really think some of our biggest growth is going to come probably in the Eagle Mountain area and the Tooele area.
I feel like a broken record with you because I always like to talk to you about interest rates, but where are we right now? I know that they've come down a little bit. Does that seem to be spurring the market, or have they not come down enough to make much of a difference?
I don't think they've come down enough to make really a big difference. The nice thing is they're low enough that I also don't feel like we're completely blaming the interest rate on affordability, right? They've come down. You can get it into the low 6s with buy downs or certain incentives from builders. We're seeing people, close their loans in the 5s. And so I actually think they're in a healthy range for us to establish long-term growth, because if we go back to 3 or 4, we'll just see a run on prices again. So I like where interest rates are today. And now let's figure out some other ways to make homes affordable.
So I was asking you just briefly before we started this segment about your app. And can you just tell us more? Like, did you just go to the regular app store?
Yep.
Download it?
Just go to the app store. It's Omada Real Estate. And so, again, kind of the core features of that, once you get it downloaded, you can check your home's value. You can search all available listings. There's some, articles and resources. And then you can also, like I said, browse and hire home service professionals from the app.
We've got about a minute left, maybe a little bit less, Russell. But what can you tell me about a home buyer who has a fixed rate mortgage and buys, but has the idea that maybe interest rates will come down? How hard is it to refinance or to restart the process once interest rates do come down? And how much of a break would you expect before it would even be worth your while?
Yeah, so, honestly, every person's a little bit different. So some people, will refinance for $100 savings because that makes a difference between buying their groceries or not. Some people are going to wait and say, because it's going to cost 2 to 3% to refinance. And so you want to make sure that, that cost savings makes sense. You're going to keep the home. But yeah, everyone's different, but so it can be a little savings or it can be a lot depending on where you're at.
Thanks so much. We've been speaking with Russell Fossa, owner of the Sturm Team of Omada Real Estate. And remember, you can learn your home's true value in 30 seconds by visiting SturnTeam.com to find out more.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Claire Scott. KSL's top story this hour. The First Presidency of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is making changes to the format for General Conference. They posted a statement online saying they've decided that beginning in April 2026, General Conference will no longer include a Saturday evening session. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The Epstein Files bill is now heading to the President Trump's desk, with near unanimous passage in both houses of Congress.
The bill requires the Justice Department to post all its Epstein investigative files online in a searchable way within 30 days. The only exceptions are for information that might identify victims, examples of child pornography, classified material, and anything that would, quote, jeopardize an active federal investigation or ongoing prosecution. Top Senate Democrat Chuck Schumer urges against the use of loopholes or any other efforts to avoid complying with Congress's intent.
There must be no funny business.
Stephen Portnoy, ABC News, Washington.
Your money at this moment, the Dow is down 53 points. The S&P is up 12 points. And coming up, rain showers. KSL weather is next. KSL News time, 11:01.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
Hi, this is Doug Ryden. For years, I've been telling you about products I truly believe in and that we use in our home. And one is Kinetico. We all know the downsides of hard water, tough on home appliances, frustrating spots on shower doors, but it also affects your personality. When you shower, does the water feel invigorating? Hard water can leave your skin feeling sticky and itchy. A Kinetico soft water system changes everything. It's like having a luxurious spa experience when you shower, making your daily routine something you look forward to. Kinetico, it's a difference you can feel. Their patented system uses far less salt than competitors, and they're exclusively focused on water softeners. They're the experts in their field, and they'll show you the difference for free with no obligation to buy. Call Kinetico Quality Water Systems of Salt Lake, an authorized independent dealer, at 801-576-8600, or check them out online at softwaterutah.com. Start enjoying your water. Spoil yourself every day.
$1.5 trillion is parked on the sidelines. Projects that would help create good-paying American jobs are stuck in years of burdensome reviews. Permitting reform would unlock over 650 major U.S. infrastructure projects, from new roads and bridges to bringing more energy online. With faster, more efficient permitting, we can unleash America's economic potential. Let's move from waiting to building. Ready, set, let's build. Paid for by Business Roundtable.
You've got your whole life ahead of you, so choose a Medicare plan you can count on. And that's what you get with a Medicare Advantage plan from United Healthcare. With more than 45 years' experience serving its members, United Healthcare has plans with low monthly premiums that fit your life today and as your needs change tomorrow. The Medicare annual enrollment period ends December 7th, so go to uhc.com/Medicare today. United Healthcare Medicare plans. It's Medicare coverage Utah can count on.
Many people worry they're not making the right investment choices inside their 401ks. Did you know that you might have a little-known opportunity to add some additional investment choices to your 401k and get the help and recommendations you've been looking for? This exciting feature is called a self-directed brokerage window. And the best part? The money still stays within your 401k. Learn how the trusted advisors at Capital Wealth may be able to expand your investment portfolio. To learn more, call or text the word VISIT to 801-877-9800 or go to CapitalWealth401k.com. Improving your 401k might mean the difference of retiring a few years earlier. Let's find out. Schedule your no-cost 15-minute consultation with the Capital Wealth team today. Call or text the word VISIT to 801-877-9800 or go to CapitalWealth401k.com. Advisory services offered through Capital Wealth Advisors, LLC, a state of Utah registered investment advisor.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Mountain America's Visa Triple Rewards. Here's Ricky Meese.
Police activity blocking traffic in West Valley, northbound Redwood Road at 33rd South in the right lanes. In Utah County, a disabled vehicle in the left lane of traffic. This is at the tunnel, westbound SR 92 Temp Highway near Travers Mountain, about 1450 west. And an accident. It's at that ramp westbound on the 21st South Freeway to go southbound on I-215's West Belt, but out of traffic, no lanes blocked. Culligan Water, healthy, pure, clean drinking water. Cleaner laundry and even softer skin and hair. Get rid of the hard, funky tasting water. Call Culligan today, 801-509-9602. Culligan Water, water you love. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
A high of 57 today with partly cloudy skies. Tomorrow, a little colder, but similar chances for some rain in the morning. Right now, 50 and raining. I'm Claire Scott from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
For the first time since the assassination of Charlie Kirk at Utah Valley University a couple months ago, his security chief is speaking out about the details of what happened that day and when he was killed at UVU. Brian Harpole, a former Navy SEAL who led Charlie Kirk's security detail, joined the Sean Ryan Show and recounted the frantic life-or-death moments after the conservative activist was fatally shot during a Turning Point USA event at Utah Valley University. Here's a portion of that interview.
And so I initially dove down on top of him and just was on him almost face to face. And then when I was doing that, I went down, I could see the wound. And so I immediately shoved my hand into the wound to stop the bleeding, just trying to find the pressure. And it was coming out still. And I'm on top of him, like close. And it was still coming out enough. And so I was like, man, this is a bad wound.
Yeah, that's bad. Eva Terry's with us on the phone. She's a Deseret News reporter who wrote about this interview, but she was also there when Charlie Kirk was shot. And did you see, Eva, thanks for joining us, by the way. Did you see anything after the shooting where the security was trying to hustle him away, or was that just too chaotic?
Yeah, so I saw, I did not see Charlie getting pulled away, but I did see it. There was a trail of blood that led to the van, and then it stopped.
Yeah. So tell us about this podcast that Brian was on yesterday.
Yeah, so Brian went on with Sean Ryan, and they just went through minute by minute and second by second what it was like from within 5 seconds. He jumped on and was trying to stop the bleeding, and then within 15 seconds they were pulling him away to the van because they didn't know if it was still an active shooting situation. They didn't want to be on the X where he had been shot, so that was their first priority, is get him off of there. And it was so harrowing because, I mean, they get to the van, and Charlie is 6'5", and so they couldn't close the doors. So it was just an insane experience, and he just went through it.
Can you tell us what their response has been since? And by the way, we haven't heard from Utah Valley University for their response, but we will be reaching out to them. What did he say? What did Brian say about maybe things that could have been done differently?
Yeah, so he shared some screenshots of texts with other security people asking to have the roof secured. And obviously, from what happened, it wasn't secure enough. And I think there will probably be a lot of back and forth. And UVU hasn't responded since the interview, but yes, that was a big allegation. And there were also just moments in the interview where they talked about, like, he dropped his phone right when he jumped onto Charlie, and so he couldn't call his kids. There were just a lot of details where things just went wrong.
Tell us about these texts, Eva. I've never heard anything about that. That there was some text going on back and forth between Charlie Kirk's security and Utah Valley University saying, hey, we need to watch these rooftops?
This would have been before the
that's
event,
what I mean.
right?
Right, yeah.
Right. So it looks like there was a text exchange on Monday afternoon, and the event was on Wednesday. And it looks like he was talking to Chief Long, and he said that they had gotten reports from students saying there's a student roof access pretty close to where he is. Can we have more security up there? And then the Chief Long responded, I've got you covered. And he said, thank you, sir. So that was the text exchange. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about some of the details right after. You mentioned him dropping his phone, and I'm sure his family was worried because he didn't have his phone with him. But what happened after they were able to rush Charlie into the van? Can you just walk us through what Brian detailed about the next few minutes after that?
Yes. Yeah. So they get into the car, and they just need to go. So they're going 60, 70, 80 miles an hour trying to get to Timpanogos Hospital. And so Brian is trying to plug the hole. He uses 35 feet of gauze.
Wow.
And they're driving really quickly, and so he's using both of his hands. So another security officer had his shirt, Brian's shirt, in both of his hands so he wouldn't fall out. So he had his butt hanging out of the car door, and they're rushing to Timpanogos Hospital. And by the time they get there, Brian just carries Charlie into the hospital, puts him on a gurney, and then takes him into a room. And then from there, he cuts his Freedom shirt off and prepares him to get a defibrillator shock. And then he's like, okay, other people are here. I'm just gonna step out. So he steps out. He's guarding the room, and he's just covered in Charlie Kirk's blood. And this nurse came up to him, and she was like, come with me. And she said that she washed his face and his hands, and that brought him to tears during the interview.
This is maybe, I don't know, maybe it's too much detail, or maybe he didn't say, but I mean, I've seen the videos. I'm assuming that Charlie was actually dead before he got to the hospital. Did he talk about that at all?
Right. So his first concern was not to check for a pulse. It was just to close the hole if it was possible. So he doesn't know if he had a pulse throughout that whole thing, but he did say they were able to get a pulse at the hospital. But it was only 2 hours before President Trump confirmed that he was dead. And when he looked at him immediately right after the shot went off, he said that he had doll's eyes, and he knew that he himself thought that Charlie Kirk had died on impact.
As you listen to this interview, Eva, can you tell us what the sort of the overarching message that Brian Harpole was? Was it more what he had done to try to try to save a life, or what Utah Valley University should have done, or just the big picture of all of that?
Yeah, I think it was less about critiquing UVU and just about how harrowing the whole experience was, and that the team did the best they could and they acted quickly. And it was just a lot of factors that came together to create something that was pretty horrible, but he seemed very genuine in his belief that they did everything they could.
Let me ask you one final question, Eva. I saw, I think as a lot of people did, just a ton of conspiracy theories after this shooting. Did he address those at all on this show yesterday?
Yeah, and there are so many conspiracy theories about this. So there was one conspiracy, he addressed a couple, but he talked about people saying that the microphone was an explosion, or it like blew up and that's what it was, and it was like an inside job or something like that. And he said, like, okay, if that's true, there would have been a flash of light because combustion requires that to happen. And so, yeah, he did address some conspiracies, and yeah, he does believe that that's all that they are.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for joining us. We've been speaking with Eva Terry from the Deseret News, who has been writing about this and who was there when Charlie Kirk was shot. Election Day in Utah was 2 weeks ago, but the final canvass was yesterday, and some races were really, really close. We're going to talk about that when we come back.
You know what? I think the holidays are the worst time of year for your furnace to go out. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and every November it feels like people get extra stressed when faced with the need to replace their furnace. The money they've been saving is supposed to go to Christmas, and now they're faced with a choice: Christmas or comfort. This holiday season, Any Hour Services wants to help alleviate some of that stress with our special holiday financing. No money down and no payments until next year. Plus, if you schedule a free estimate before the end of November, Any Hour Services will give you $2,500 off any full system you buy. And that doesn't even factor in the rebates and incentives you might qualify for. Again, during the month of November, Any Hour Services will give you $2,500 off any furnace and air conditioner you buy. And you can take advantage of our special holiday financing with no money down and no payments until next year. For more details, call Any Hour Services and schedule a free estimate. Google Any Hour Services or schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
This is the story of the one. As a custodial supervisor at a high school, he knows that during cold and flu season, germs spread fast. It's why he partners with Grainger to stay fully stocked on the products and supplies he needs, from tissues to disinfectants to floor scrubbers. All so that he can help students, staff, and teachers stay healthy and focused. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance supervisor at a manufacturing facility, he knows keeping the line up and running is a top priority. That's why he chooses Grainger. Because when a drive belt gets damaged, Grainger makes it easy to find the exact specs for the replacement product he needs. And next day delivery helps ensure he'll have everything in place and running like clockwork. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Most folks wait till January to say, I should probably fix this or do something about how you feel. But you know what? You're going to go into 2026 with the resolution already done, because soda helps you lose the weight now, so your New Year's all celebration.
You and I both started our soda weight loss journey in October and November, right? And I loved going into holiday parties knowing I had a plan. It wasn't just, I'm going to try not to. It was, this is my plan, because I've spoken with a nutritionist and I get a jump start on that, first of the year goal by beginning soda weight loss right now.
Yeah, there's no guesswork. You're supported every step of the way, and you need that. And right now, there's an amazing offer from Soda for you and your partner. You join, and your partner joins for free.
So why gain 20 pounds just to lose it in the new year? Go to Soda Weight Loss today and begin today.
That's sodaweightloss.com, SOTA weightloss.com, because soda is, say it with me, Amanda, state of the art.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code POWER to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code POWER for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code POWER for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Cunahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions and bring you a special Black Friday offer.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have Leaf Filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/radio to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
That's leaffilter.com/radio. And now, as a special Black Friday offer, you can get a free gutter inspection, plus up to 35% off. This is our best offer of the season. Unlock it now at leaffilter.com/radio. See representative for warranty details.
When you need the financial products and services for every stage of life, Cypress Credit Union is there for whatever the future holds. Visit cypresscu.com today.
Sure, humans can be a little weird at times, but take it from me, I'm a dog. And a person is about the best thing that can happen to a shelter pet. So if you want to learn how you can be that person, get down to your local pet shelter or visit theshelterpetproject.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources.
Okay, so it's been 2 weeks today, or 2 weeks yesterday. Since the municipal elections. A lot of us were actually quite interested in those. You and I are interested in any election, it seems like. But there were
weird.
there were a lot going on, not the least of which is my own hometown, Ogden Valley area. But there were some close elections, and I guess, what is it, yesterday or today, the election registrars were to get their canvassing done.
It was yesterday, and it's 2 weeks after Election Day, and they call it the final canvass, which is why on election night it's like these are preliminary results, right? And one of the things I wanted to talk about is some of these races were so close. So in Park City, the mayor's race up there was a 7-vote difference. So very, very close. They had to have it's within the margin where the losing candidate could call for a recount. And as far as I know, that person hasn't done it yet. They haven't called for a recount. So City Council member Ryan Dickey was declared the winner at Tuesday night's council meeting after that final canvass was presented. His opponent is a man named Jack Rubin. And again, there were only 7 votes that separated them.
That's a message for people who think my vote doesn't count.
Right.
Because
that's exactly right.
In Park City, and it could be in Midvale, it could be in Murray, it could be in any other jurisdiction next time. Your vote does count.
It does.
And especially municipal elections, because let's face it, they don't draw a lot of voters. You don't get a lot of people voting, and sometimes you have maybe 3,000 total votes. 5 or 6 or 7 votes is a significant difference.
So down in southern Utah, in Enoch, that mayor's race, 4 votes.
Wow.
4-vote difference. So I remember there was a city council race, and I want to say it was in Utah County. It's been a few years. It was exactly tied when they did the final canvass, and so they flipped a coin to pick the winner.
You do all that work, and then it comes down to flipping a coin.
So, anyway, so it's southern Utah had Enoch's mayor's race won by 4 votes. I'm going to show my ignorance. Is it Paragona?
Yep.
That's how you say it? Okay.
Yeah.
That mayor won by 7 votes, right? And Park City won by 7 votes. Very, very close.
And we're also learning that a lot of first-time mayors were elected.
Yeah.
I don't know whether that means that was sort of the throw the incumbents out, or maybe just more people jumping into the fray and deciding, well, hey, I think I'll throw my name in the hat.
Sometimes there were incumbents who were ousted, and sometimes it was a mayor who didn't run again. But there were a lot of turnover in the mayoral seats, and I'll point to Provo and Orem down in Utah County, where the incumbent mayors lost their reelection bids, and now they have challengers. So in Provo, it is Marcia Judkins who ended up winning over incumbent Mayor Michelle Kaufusi, and in Orem, Karen McCandless won and defeated the incumbent mayor there. So interesting. And then up in your neck of the woods, you have a brand new mayor and city council for the first time, and they've already been sworn in.
Right, and I do want to come back to the two Utah County races in just a minute, but up in Ogden Valley, which is where I live, and the town is called Eden, although it may change here shortly, they voted up there to incorporate. This was a year or so ago. And in terms of the incorporation, they had to have a municipal election because we've never had municipal officers. Now, I wasn't in favor of the incorporation, but I voted anyway for the officers because what the heck. My wife and I came on different sides of this. But it was interesting because they'll talk about close races. There are not a lot of people up there, but we now have a mayor for the first time, and I've lived up there for almost 20 years. We have a city council, I think it's called, the mayor and council up there for what's now being called the Ogden Valley City. They're going to decide what it means, but it's a combination of, I think, Eden, Liberty, and to some extent Huntsville area. This Ogden Valley City, which is now a municipal, and I don't know. It's going to be exciting. They've got to have city offices. They've got to have city personnel. They've got to have city manager. That mayor up there, who seems by all accounts to be very well prepared for the job, certainly has her work cut out for her.
Yeah, and so you mentioned, so this is a new city where they have a new government, but down in Utah County, we've talked about this a bunch. We have 3 new school districts now, and so those results were also finalized yesterday. So we've got 3 school districts, they with 7 people on the school board now, and I don't think they've been sworn in yet, but they will be soon because they've got to get to work, and that one of the first things they have to do is hire a superintendent for these new school districts.
Right, yeah, because when you when you build it, they will come. You've got the infrastructure, now you've got to put the people in place. I want to ask you about the Provo mayoral race because I had the impression that the incumbent was well regarded, was doing a good job, and I don't know. I don't know why, unless the opponent was also a very, very attractive candidate, somebody that had a lot of momentum. But why that the incumbent lost that race? And maybe that's an unfair question.
So right. I mean, so part of it is there were. Marcia Judkins was a member of the House of Representatives, and she represented the west side of Provo, so she had a lot of name recognition there. And one of the things that she pointed out in her campaign is she didn't feel like the west side got a lot of love, and so she already had a lot of support from the west side. But I saw a KUER article really about this race, and they talked to people in Provo about why do you think this happened? Why did Mayor Kaufusi end up losing her reelection bid? And one of the things they said, the people that were interviewed, is that they felt like the challenger ran a very good, polite race.
Yeah.
And, there were people who said differently, and we've interviewed them here, but that Marcia had run a really good race that was kind, and they felt like she made some good points, and so they voted for her. Todd Weiler called our show to talk about this when you were out and said it's rare to see mayors win a 3rd term. It does happen, but it's rare. And he said one of the reasons is people think of the mayor as like an executive like the president, and he gets 2 terms, so mayors should get 2 terms. May or may not have played into it, but during that time when we were talking about that, we had a texter tell us that in Provo there's only been 2 mayors who've served more than 2 terms.
And was Michelle Kaufusi running
for
her
third term?
Okay,
yeah.
Well, that makes
Isn't
sense.
that interesting?
So it's not like a throw her out, but it's like, okay, good job, 2 terms. Let's move on.
Look, there's a lot of there's always a question, right? And it always comes down to who shows up to vote. And I think Karen McCandless in Orem is going to do a great job. She used to be on the Orem City Council, and she's She stepped down from running I think it was the Food and Care Coalition, which was a nonprofit organization, right, reaching out to people in need in the community. And so she's going to bring some new eyeballs, but ones that have already been experienced.
Do we have any idea what happened there? Because again, a fairly popular incumbent, I would assume.
He actually, there were some things that happened, I think, that were relatively maybe scandalous is maybe too strong of a word, but there were some things that happened where people were unhappy. So that one wasn't so much of a surprise. I thought it was interesting that a bunch of small towns too, like Mona or Hinckley or Fayette, right, or Joseph. I don't even know we had these towns, but they switched hands also with their mayor's race, and so did St. George. St. George switched hands as well.
I'll just talk about one other race because I know both of the candidates that ran, and that was the Sandy City race.
That's right.
I thought that race would be closer, and I'm not saying anything about the challenger. She did a good job. I've talked about Cindy Sharkey. She ran a great race, was a good candidate. The Sandy City mayor, Monica Zoltansky, I couldn't think of her name for just a second, had her share of controversy, but maybe good controversy, maybe the kind of controversy that the city likes, that her name's out there, she's working, the big Cottonwood gondola, other things going on in that area. That was a race that I was watching closely, but the vote count wasn't as close as some people
It was not
expected.
that close. Yeah. Another race that wasn't that close was Mayor Dawn Ramsey in South Jordan. She ran for re-election and she won handily. And actually, interestingly, that was her third term. And she did win. So.
Yeah. And Zoltansky, I think, was running for her second term. So maybe
that would be a Senator Todd Weiler theory.
Third strike you're out is applicable to a lot of these races.
Anyway, just thought it was interesting. A lot of new faces in municipal government. And again, to your point earlier, this was some races determined by less than 2 handfuls of votes.
So your vote counts.
Your vote counts.
You got to vote.
Okay, look, so I just went and saw Suffs. Remember, we talked with the lieutenant governor on Friday about it, so I watched this musical on Friday night. I thought it was good. It made me cry in happy ways, but I also got angry, and I'm going to talk to you about that when I come back.
11:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Claire Scott. KSL's top story this hour. And it is breaking news. A flight from Honolulu to Salt Lake City had to be diverted to Los Angeles this morning, though we don't yet know why. The Delta flight left Honolulu last night and was supposed to land in Utah around 8:30, but instead it landed at about 6:40 in LA. We're working to gather more details and we'll bring them to you when they're available. The passengers are now expected to arrive in Salt Lake City sometime this afternoon. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Another home improvement company and big retailer showing some signs of stress.
A day after Home Depot lowered its full-year outlook, its competitor Lowe's has also trimmed 2025 profit predictions. Lowe's CEO Marvin Ellison said on the company's earnings call that sales were up and consumers are still spending, but they're wary about larger discretionary purchases like the appliances his company sells. Target's third-quarter profits have also tumbled as it tries to get shoppers spending again amid stubbornly high inflation. Target's share price is down 43% from the start of the year. Sherry Preston, ABC News.
Your money at this moment, the Dow is down 17 points. The S&P is up 11 points. And coming up, rain and highs in the 50s. KSL weather's next. KSL News Time, 11:31.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
As the temperature sinks a little lower and the wind blows a little harder, next thing you know, the winter cold is going to be seeping in through your old drafty windows. So now's the time to call Advanced Window Products for custom-crafted, state-of-the-art windows that'll seal up your house and cut your heating bill. Get on their schedule before winter, and not only do you get factory direct pricing far below what the big name companies charged, but Advanced will knock an extra $2,500 off your quote. They'll create beautiful double-pane windows with insulated frames, any style, any color, and the security features to keep your family safe. You'll get a lifetime warranty from a local company in business here for 39 years. Financing? 60 months, 0%. Or even buy now, pay later. So make the call. Seal up the house for winter with $2,500 off on 10 windows or more. Call for a quote, 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100, or go to advancedwindows.com.
Just how good is Pure Talk's current deal for unlimited wireless? Well, you might say it's the deal of your lifetime. Because right now, for just $29.95 a month, Pure Talk is offering unlimited talk, text, and data for life. Not your phone's life, your life. This is Pure Talk's top-tier plan. It comes with a crazy fast 5G network along with a 30-gig hotspot. And at just $29.95 a month, there has never been a better opportunity to lock in a ridiculously low rate for as long as you live. And save thousands and thousands of dollars along the way. This plan is normally $65 a month, but if you switch today, you will save over 50% every single month for the rest of your life. See what I mean? It really is the deal of your lifetime. Dial pound 250, say micro. Offer ends 12/7. Some restrictions apply. Details at puretalk.com.
Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates, this weekend only. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Friday, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission, free parking, free delivery. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's Visa Triple Rewards. Here's Ricky Meese.
Right lane still blocked with police activity in West Valley City, northbound Redwood Road, about 3300 south. No major delays, but you do have to scoot over to the left in order to get around it. And we do have more trouble in traffic. This is at the ramp from either I-80 or the 21st South Freeway to go to southbound I-15. The vehicles are over to the right shoulder, mostly out of traffic, but it is still causing slowdowns on that ramp coming from I-80 or the 201. The Good Feet store, supporting you with comfort no matter what the day brings. Find the location nearest you at goodfeet.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
A high of 57 with a bit of rain heading into the afternoon. We'll see similar conditions tomorrow with chances of rain in the morning and a high of 53. Right now, 49 and raining. I'm Claire Scott from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Okay, Holly, I need your feedback on this because Friday noonish, or just before then, when we break for the weekend, we went to the movie show, and you and I talked about what you were going to do that evening, and you were going to watch a musical, a Tony-winning musical from New York that had come to Utah called Suffs.
That's right.
Involving the women's suffrage movement.
Yep.
I had no idea. Hadn't heard about it. But it was a musical that came to Salt Lake, and you had tickets for it. Did you go?
I did. And, Friday, right before we ended the show, we talked with the lieutenant governor about the show and about, because several of the actors from the show got a personal tour from her. She talked about taking them up to Capitol Hill. Anyway, it was really great. And I expected, like a lot of my friends have seen it. They talked about how powerful it was, how great the message was. All of that was true. And also, there were some, I was surprised that I ended up feeling kind of angry, actually.
Angry at because you said you cried.
I did cry, so I cried several times. Look, the fight for women's suffrage was really, really a fight, and it took 72 years from the first Seneca Falls Convention, which was where women were first organizing to talk about getting suffrage. This was not the first time they were talking about it, but the first actual meeting until it was passed was 72 years. Nobody was alive to see the whole arc of that, right? I mean, that was really,
So
that part is sad.
Part of your anger and sadness was having to relive this and realizing how difficult that movement was.
It was, yeah. So the movement was hard. Look, women went to jail for this, for asking for the right to vote. They went to jail. They were force-fed in jail, and by that, people literally held them down and shoved tubes up their nose and then poured stuff into it. Some of that stuff is just like, it was wild. And the arguments that people made were really offensive. And there was a whole anti-suffragist movement, and a lot of them were women. And there were more anti-suffragists than there were suffragists until about 2016, until about 4 years before it was ratified.
I mean, 1916.
1916.
Yeah,
What did I
right.
say?
You said 2016.
Oh my gosh.
So
sometimes it feels like it's that recent.
Okay, but it's a musical. You would think, and I don't watch musicals, but you would think it would be uplifting. But it was true to form, and it was historically.
Yeah.
You thought it was well done that way.
Yeah, sure. I thought it was well done that way. And they really, I thought they did a really good job of portraying, like there was a split in the women's suffrage movement, and they portrayed it as, Give Mother the Vote was one of the songs, right? And just saying, look, we're going to try to do this by being nice and asking politely, right? But it hadn't worked for 70 years. And so Alice Paul comes along, and she was quite an activist, I guess I would say. She was a lot more of a, I'm going to shake the trees, right, and just rattle the fence around the White House. Literally, she was part of the Silent Sentinels. They did a march down 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. They did a march down Pennsylvania Avenue, and she had one of her compatriots, one of her colleagues, literally riding a white horse dressed as a Grecian goddess with a big crown on her head. Like, that was real, and that was in the musical, and it got attention. It for sure did.
So talk to our listeners about the politics at the time. And I know 72 years is a long time, but what was going on, and what was it that was holding this up? And did the musical explain that or help us understand that?
It did. And look, so the politics at the time, and here's where some of the modern day ignorance of mine came in, is sometimes it feels like not a lot has changed. Some of the arguments are the same. Women don't belong in politics. They belong at home, right? And if we quote give women the vote, then they're going to abandon their kids and they're going to abandon their families. And why would we want to do that? There was a Secretary of State under Theodore Roosevelt. He said that it would ruin women, that they would become hard, harsh, unlovable, and repulsive if they got the right to vote. And by the way, he won the Nobel Peace Prize for his advancement in international relations, right? But here was one of the most offensive arguments, is that it would, if you were pregnant, it would ruin your child. It would cause both physical and mental birth defects in your baby if you voted while you were pregnant.
Oh, wow.
So
things have come
anyway,
a long way.
But one of the other things that the musical missed, and this didn't make me angry, it just made me a little sad, but Utah was really leading the way. So
we talked about this Friday, Utah's role in the movement.
Yeah, so one of the things that has been lost, I think, over time is how intertwined women's other roles were with their approach to suffrage. So, for example, women who were general presidents of the Relief Society for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in both the Utah Territory and then Utah as a state, they were really, really involved in suffrage. And they would use religious meetings, they would use Relief Society meetings to talk about suffrage, to talk about the importance of women having the vote. And in Utah, the Utah Territory, 50 years before suffrage passed, the 19th Amendment passed in nationwide, is Seraph Young made her first vote 50 years before. And then they lost the vote. Women lost the vote. They had it for 17 years. And then because of polygamy, the U.S. Congress passed the Edmunds-Tucker Act, stripped women in Utah of the right to vote, whether they were involved in a polygamous marriage or not, but they took that away. And then when we had the manifesto in, I think, 1890 that did away with polygamy officially in the state of Utah, they were able to work on reapplying for statehood. And so as part of that, they had to come up with a constitution. That was in 1895. And as they did that, one of the things that they insisted on was that women's suffrage be back in there.
Yeah, and so when we're talking about a New York play, a very successful play, did you think it could have or should have had a Utah connection?
It would have been nice if they had tossed in a mention, right? But I still, like, one of the things that made me sad is we lost a lot of that history about how involved women were, about how it wasn't separate from those roles that they had. It's enshrined right now and has been from day one of our statehood. The rights of citizens of the state of Utah to vote and hold office shall not be denied on account of sex. Both male and female citizens of this state shall enjoy equally all civil, political, and religious rights and privileges. We had that from the day we became a state. So go Utah. And it kind of went away. And then we had a resurrection, I think, with the group Better Days. It was Better Days 2020 because they were looking forward to the 100th anniversary. But to start to retell the stories of those women's voices.
Politics aside, what was the quality of the performance?
It was really, really good.
You thought? I mean, usually when those come to Utah,
it was at the Eccles downtown.
Right?
It was so good.
I guess it's on Broadway, or at least
it was on Broadway.
Tony-winning musical.
Yeah, it was on Broadway. And we've talked about Martha Hughes Cannon before. So she was already a doctor, and then she became the first senator ever elected to a state legislature because we had the right to vote and to run for office. So that was really great. So we have this little clip. This is from one of the songs, and it's to remind us, I think, that the work never ends.
Keep marching, keep marching.
We're going to keep marching because we still have work to do, right? Sometimes it feels like we're going backwards. I'm seeing people call for an elimination of the 19th Amendment to get rid of it, overturn it. And it's like, really?
Probably not going to happen.
Well, I sure hope
but
not.
The fact that anyone's even having that conversation has to scare you. Yeah, keep marching. When we come back, we're going to talk about the giving season. We're going to talk about Thanksgiving being just around the corner and what families are doing during their uncertain economic times. Stay with us.
The holidays are all about opening your home and your heart. And Zero Res is here to help you do both. Whether you're hosting family or coming home after traveling, there's nothing like walking into a house that feels fresh and clean. But did you know your carpets can hold up to 40 pounds of dust, dirt, even pet dander and bacteria? Zero Res cleans it all the right way, using patented chemical-free technology that leaves no residue. It's safe for kids, pets, and the people you love most. And this month, Zero Res is helping the whole community shine a little brighter. Donate canned food to the food bank through your Zero Res technician and get a 4th room free as a thank you. That's on top of getting 3 rooms of carpet cleaned for just $139. So get your home holiday ready while giving back to those in need. Visit ZeroRes.com today. Spelled the same forward or backward. Zero Res is the right way to clean.
KSL offers the best daily newsletter in the state. It's the 3 things you need to know. Every weekday, we deliver quality and relevant content to your inbox. No ads, no spam, just the 3 things you need to know to be informed about the world around you. Subscribe today. Visit KSLNewsRadio.com or text the word inbox to 57500. That's inbox to 57500.
Is your financial advisor offering you up to a 30% upfront bonus? Or are they promising you up to 10% growth per year, all for your retirement income? If not, then you need to come to Trajan Wealth. I'm Jeff Jr., founder of Trajan Wealth. If you have a plan to retire within the next 10 years, don't wait only to find out it's too late. I've seen hardworking folks like you retire only to be required to go back to work, all because their advisor told them guarantees like these were too good to be true. They're not. That's up to $30,000 upfront or up to $10,000 per year on $100,000, all guaranteed for retirement income. Don't keep working when you're supposed to be retired, and don't let any financial advisor tell you it's too good to be true. Call Trajan today, 801-207-9900. That's 801-207-9900.
Annuities, non-advisory products. DBA Trajan Wealth Insurance Solutions. Additional disclosures at TrajanWealth.com.
The end of the year is coming so fast. Your house needs to be ready for those big get-togethers. At 5 Star Painting, our service is hotter than a glowing red doorknob. From colors so smooth, rich, and inviting, to bold and bright enough to hit like a hot iron. Trust 20 years of experience, over 1,000 beaming reviews, and our 2-year warranty that sets us apart from all the others. Leave your guests thirsty for more. This year, let us swing the paint cans. 5starpainting.com.
The KSL News Radio Movie Show comes to My Hearing Centers Friday from 10 to 1. But first, discover what My Hearing Centers can do for you. My Hearing Centers uses advanced technology to diagnose and treat hearing loss. These comprehensive evaluations determine the best treatment options. Then enjoy lifetime support with regular check-ins, cleaning, and maintenance. Call My Hearing Centers at 801-701-1629. 801-701-1629 for more details. My Hearing Centers has offices from Ogden to St. George.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. Inclusion Pro is a team of passionate professionals dedicated to creating more inclusive workplaces. Through hands-on learning and practical guidance, they show organizations how to build cultures where everyone feels valued and can truly thrive. CEO Sarah Jones joins us with more.
Companies across Utah are navigating rapid change and wondering how to keep people engaged while driving growth. Global employee engagement has dropped to just 21%, and 3 out of 4 managers feel overwhelmed. At Inclusion Pro, we partner with boards and executive teams at companies of all sizes to activate their missions, their people, and their business outcomes. Based on 25 years of experience across business, technology, content, revenue, and law, I've learned how to connect the dots between strategy and results. We help leaders build organizations that are human-centered, more inclusive, and more innovative. We are experienced in leading executive and team strategy sessions, creating strategic roadmaps, coaching organizations and leaders through growth or change, and designing customized learning experiences for executives, teams, and events. Aligning your mission with people and business strategy is our expertise. When that happens, organizations unlock higher performance, profitability, and innovation. Find out more at inclusionpro.com.
Inclusion Pro is helping Utah organizations build company cultures that drive meaningful change, empower teams, and achieve measurable results. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
Save $2,500 on a new furnace and air conditioner from Any Hour Services. For more information, call Any Hour Services or schedule a free estimate online at anyhourservices.com.
The new Inside Sources.
You know, it's only 8 days away. Thanksgiving just around the corner, so it's the season of giving. A lot of Utah families are still recovering from the ripple effects of the government shutdowns, certain economic changes with respect to benefits and other things that have been cut back. We want to share with you some practical ways you can make a difference and spread the word this holiday season, though.
And when you try a little kindness, and help someone for real.
You got to try a little
It's
kindness.
a Sesame Street one.
Yeah.
It's so cute. So, look, you can text us 57500. What ways do you give back during Thanksgiving? So, what do you do?
You know, one thing I'm playing a little more Tori Kelly, but for me, this is, I don't know if I'll articulate very well. It's a season of sort of largesse. Like when you sit down to have your Thanksgiving dinner, it's just, it's all there. There's so much.
Yeah.
It's so plentiful. It's so big that you have to look and say, this is me. My Thanksgiving dinner is more than I could possibly eat.
Yeah,
and
that's
it's all there, but it's not that way for everyone else. So I think it's a time, for me, it comes to food. It comes to how many people can you help feed? What can we do to the food banks, to the pantries, to get others that feeling that I want to have a full belly that day.
So my kids, there have been a couple of years where they have gone downtown, in downtown Salt Lake to do food for people experiencing homelessness, Thanksgiving dinner type food, serving that way. I've also volunteered at I don't know if you call it a soup kitchen because we weren't serving soup, but right. I mean,
That's what they're called.
a
Yeah,
place
right.
where people can come and get food and get a meal. And I've served there as well. That part has been good. I think we've got some ideas here from the church news. This is be the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, but one of them is organize a food drive. You could do that. You could say, I could do this with my kids, actually. Say the price of admission is you got to bring 1 or 2 or 3 food items because we're going to go drop that off after Thanksgiving dinner.
Right, or before you have a bite, we're going to drop something off. Or
Well,
like
they're
you
closed
say
on
afterwards.
Thanksgiving,
yeah,
but
yeah, there you go. Right. Like you say, organize a food drive with your friends, your family, your neighbors. Volunteer at a soup kitchen, and there's still And when we've talked to the soup kitchen individuals and the people that are running that, they tell us that they need 3 things. They need your time, they need your money, and they need your food. So you can donate. If you don't have money, you can volunteer at the soup kitchen. If you do have resources, they love the money. Or if you can just go purchase food items for them or other items so that other people can appreciate this time of season.
Yeah. You can write thank you letters, like real ones that you put in the mail and you put a stamp on. Weird, I know, right? But or even just a note telling somebody, hey, I was thinking of you. That is so rare nowadays.
I need to sit down and do that. And I'll tell you why. Because I suffered a traumatic injury 2 weeks ago, and the support that I've got, I have tremendous thanks for people like yourself who stood up to the plate and did things for me. Even yesterday, we got a package in the mail, and I was just like, I can't believe the love that I've got. And I do need to sit down and just write some thank yous to some people for what they've done for me.
Well, that's really kind. And also, one of the things, I've done this before too, creating hygiene kits. And so that's where you can decide, are we going to do like for kids, for example, like the refugee services, the Utah Refugee Connection, they'll put together hygiene kits specifically for teenagers. And I am telling you, one of the things they really need, toothpaste, toothbrush, but deodorant. They need deodorant because they're teenagers.
Right. Yes. Right. Help a neighbor with yard work. I mean, this time of year, the leaves are out all over the ground, I should say. People are, you think of spring cleanup, but really you want to do some fall cleanup as well so that the spring cleanup is not quite so bad. Help your neighbor. Get rid of some of the trees and some of the leaves and some of the things that are causing a problem with them, especially if you see your neighbor out there working their tail off, and you can jump in and maybe help out a little bit.
Not you.
Not me. No, I'm not.
You need the help.
Anyone.
You can't go do
right,
the help.
Right.
You can also host a winter clothing drive. So there are, in fact, I just mentioned the Utah Refugee Connection. They're collecting adult coats because they say there are a lot of people who donate to schools for drives there at school for kids who may not have coats, but the parents of those children, especially if you're a refugee that has come from a warm climate, like you've come from Sudan, it's not going to be warm this winter for sure. So
that's another thing where you have to look at what you have. And my wife does this every year. She goes down into my coat closet because I hoard coats, and she says, "Greg, give me your top 10 that you're not wearing anymore, and let's give these away because they're so nice."
Yeah, and this one I don't do, but donate blood, right? So that's another possibility. And we have a texter who asks, how do we continue the spirit of giving through the other 51 weeks of the year? I think that's a key question, and I think one of the things that we can do and probably should do is continue to talk about it, to look for opportunities. The need doesn't go away just because the holiday season ends.
Right, and that's, I think, part of what KSL's kindness campaign is about, that this spirit of giving, the spirit of kindness, the spirit of generosity.
Yeah, we're going to continue to highlight those stories, through our KSL's kindness campaign. And we're powered by One Kind Act a Day, which is a project by the Simnani Family Foundation. And people who want to know more, there's a lot of opportunities, plus information at powerofkind.org. So I have some fun facts for today.
Good.
One of the things that's fun is on this day, now I got to look it up, it's the day of the Gettysburg Address. So this is the day that Abraham Lincoln stood up and gave, that really powerful speech that was really quite short if you look at it.
Right. Some people have memorized it and given it during their high school.
It's just a few hundred words,
right.
And that's interesting. It's also International Journalist Day, and that's a really interesting thing right now. There have been a number of journalists who were killed this year, especially in Gaza, but not exclusively there. But we also have president.
I know
who
where
is
you're
maybe
going, right?
not the kindest,
Right, and we spoke
to journalists.
Yeah, and
so.
we know that he was speaking with the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia yesterday, and it came up that a journalist was killed.
Yeah.
Khashoggi.
Yeah,
and,
that's right.
And how that has been responded to since, and how it's being looked back on. I think a lot of the journalist community may have some concern about how that was sort of brushed over yesterday.
Yeah. Look, I have to tell you this one too. So 1875, Hiram Bingham was born. I wonder if you have any idea who he is.
I don't know.
He's an American archaeologist, and he, quote, discovered, but I would say rediscovered Machu Picchu. So it was there, right? It was always there. So can you say that he discovered it or he rediscovered it? And some of those early pictures, right? It was this covered in foliage mound. You could kind of see the steps. Now it's just amazing. I have not visited it yet, but it is on my list.
You can imagine finding something like that and thinking, oh, some steps. And then a little while later, there's this a theater
so
over
big.
here and this
Yeah.
dining hall,
That's right.
and this other thing over, and it was a huge undertaking.
Yeah.
Still today.
Now, this one might be right up your alley. So today, Zion National Park was established, 1919. So happy birthday to Zion National Park.
Good. And over 106 years. And it's still one of the most popular parks. It's probably the most popular park in the state of Utah. It's the one where
It's the big one.
Yeah, reservations, shuttles, don't drive in the canyon. And it's something I try to visit Zion's once a year, Zion.
Yeah,
and
right.
just because
People get mad if you add that S.
I know.
Zion.
It's a Utah thing that I get caught up in.
It's a Utah thing. So also on this day in 1998, the U.S. House of Representatives began impeachment hearings against Bill Clinton. So you remember that one?
Yeah. Impeachment became a word, unfortunately, in our political vocabulary that we hear far too often.
And now you just shrug it off
Now you
because
think,
people aren't
okay.
getting removed. So on this day in 2023, also, this will be our last fact, Rosalind Carter, who was, of course, the former First Lady, she died at age 96 on this day in 2023.
Yeah, and Jimmy Carter.
Relatively recently.
Right.
Yeah, he lived another
Passed away
year.
recently, yeah.
You know, the work that they did after they left the White House was just remarkable. And the Carter Foundation continues to do work locally and internationally, solving some of, I think, the world's toughest problems.
Good people. And speaking of kindness, the Carter family sort of epitomizes kindness and what they did.
They do.
Both when
They
they
do
were
and did.
in office when they and not.
Indeed.
Well, that's all for Holly and I today on Inside Sources. We'll be back tomorrow. And straight ahead, today on Capitol Hill, Utah lawmakers struck down a proposal to phase out paper signature gathering in local elections. For now, Midday with Maria Chaleos.
Local elections was shot down on Capitol Hill today, but it could be back for debate again in a matter of months. KSL News Radio's Adam Small has details.
Political candidates can already gather